You know,
You say
I mean,
so.
I feel like you'd be excited to be here.
I do
considering what we're
declare.
talking about. I do
Oh, I
declare.
am. I am. I'm just eating. You know.
See, I am too.
Oh, we're in the same boat then. Okay, never mind.
Oh, Ryan just went live, and he's not here yet, so that's kind of weird.
What?
Well, we all just went live, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
That is true.
Tis indeed true, sir.
Yes, very true. Yes, yes.
I'll just whip out every single accent that we have at our disposal.
Thank you, Mr. Potter.
Mr.
Can I have
Potter?
more? Potter.
Potter.
Turn to page 194.
It's 394. You classless
394.
heathen.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, so it's all good.
Speak of the devil.
Oh, there he is. He's here.
Potter. Is that
He's
you?
here.
Potter.
He's here. Potter.
I want him to whip it out.
I say that's a good
It's the
way to
greatest
start
line.
this off.
It's the greatest line.
Four-ish.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're well, yeah. Oh,
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Four-ish. Where's your lights, Ryan?
Nah. I was late. I just got done watching the X-Men thing,
Dude,
so I was
turn
like,
'em on.
I don't have no time.
Turn them on. Let's get
No
some-
time.
It's a television show.
Literally, there we go. Now it feels like
It's
the show
just
has
one
started.
remote.
One remote.
Professional
Hey!
YouTube stream here, Ryan. Let's go.
See, my
Yeah.
light
Let's
gave out like
go.
2 weeks ago, and I have no idea what happened to it. So
Who's
I'm
the
just-
lumberjack?
I think you know who it is. Buy-in. Don't
Kinda
This is,
Stupid
this is
ass
what
question
Sean
is
has. It's a hobby he's taken on. He's really into chopping wood in the backyard.
Yeah.
how we do
Thank
it.
you
Yep.
for stopping.
Alfred style, like BVS.
Yeah.
Yep.
He
Stopping
chops
in.
wood all day, but the problem is that he lives in the state of Arizona where he doesn't need to make fire at all.
We never just go outside. I mean, I can go outside and
He
fry an
doesn't
egg on the
sell a
sidewalk
lot of
right
wood.
now.
Yeah, he doesn't sell a lot of the wood, but damn, he can cut it pretty good.
You'd be surprised how many people here burn a fireplace in December. when
I'm
it's still
sure.
90 degrees outside. You'd be
They
surprised.
crank the AC and they're like, "Let's start a fire. That'd be fun."
Well, like my house, I keep it at 68 year round, 365. Does
But
not
you have
change.
to. I mean, imagine if your AC went down. I mean, I'm sure it has in the past.
And
It's like,
that
oh my
happened
God.
in our rental. It went down right in the middle of July. It got up by the time
Oh fuck!
there to fix it. It was about 92 degrees, and they didn't get it done till like 3 in the morning. So it's like you got to go to work in 2 hours, and you're waiting for it to cool off. It's when your AC goes out, you're
I'm gonna need you to come
Need like a
visit
peak
me in
button right now. I
Houston.
need a peak button.
Get you in some triple-digit weather.
Well,
With humidity.
It gets super hot in Arizona.
yeah.
Yeah.
So last
Oh, that's
was-
dry heat though, right?
No. Like 2 years ago, we had our highest. It was 128 for about 3 days.
Oh wow.
And they actually had a citywide not alert, but notice saying if you don't have to go anywhere, don't, because a lot of our parking lots
They're
and a
just
lot of
catching
our
on
highways they've tarred them. They're not just pavement. They've tarred them because a lot of the houses around to keep the sound down. But
Yeah.
it was so hot, the cars were actually leaving impressions into the roads. It was because the tar was just melting.
Yeah.
They were having people, hey, if you don't need to go out, stay home. It's too hot.
Now, I heard when I was there, the lady at the grocery store was like, "Yeah, it really sucks. Like, if you go out when it's really hot and you buy milk and you don't put it in a cooler right away, it'll go bad by the time
Yeah.
you get home."
Oh,
They still have milk.
There's there are actually quite a few grocery stores that'll ask you if you already have a cooler with ice, and if you don't, they'll actually put your like produce and like your dairy stuff in bags of ice for you for free for your drive home, because it won't make it.
It'll just wilt.
Y'all have those guys that have like the big ice pick, and you got the big block of ice, and they carry it on their back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, your milk
What
will
is it,
turn into like
frozen?
your milk turns into cottage cheese within 10 minutes on the drive home.
That's
Yeah.
basically like cooking your cookies out on your car with like tinfoil weather.
can-
That's basically what that is.
Well,
Oh,
it's
no,
like
that's
some
just-
people will. You'll
poor
see some people do that. They'll put it on the dash of their car, and
Yep.
they'll cook cookies while they're inside work.
Oh my gosh.
That's
That's-
brutal.
Yeah, I can't.
Well, no, because cookies are delicious.
I
Well,
love cookies.
Well, exactly.
I'm
You
saying
get-
the heat part of it.
You get off of work, you're going to your car, you're hard day at work. Hey, got some fresh baked cookies right on my desk.
Ryan egg.
There we go.
Ryan
Ryan
egg.
egg. There we go. It's funny because like my father-in-law left some cookie dough here, right? And so my kids were like, "Let's make cookies. Let's make cookies." So after he left, my wife and the kids, they made cookies. Well, I came home and there was a full bin of cookies. I'm like, well, that's really weird. I thought they would have, eat a few of them. And when I opened it up, the cookies were oatmeal with chocolate chip and raisins, and they had, had like substantial chunks of like of rolled oats. I thought it was fantastic. And the next morning, I was like, "Hey, you guys want a cookie?" No. They didn't like it. They were like, "No, I don't."
That's why they weren't
like it. Because of the stuff that was in it, the oatmeal that was in it. They were like, "No."
I'm all down for that, except for the mixing the raisins and chocolate chips, oatmeal raisin cookies.
Yeah, pick one or the other.
Raisinets.
Raisinets. Remember those?
No, I remember them, just don't like them.
See, you guys have no idea. Phil and I know all about raisins. California raisins. Those are the best.
Oh well.
Yeah, that was a great show.
Damn straight.
Remember the California raisins?
Yeah.
The girls that would dance. Little raisins.
Heard it through the grapevine, or grapevine.
Heard it through the grapevine.
Holy shit! Remember that? Oh my god!
I think we're all of age, pretty much, to remember that.
Yeah, claymation.
Maybe Baby D up there in the corner, probably.
Yeah, Baby D. I don't think he knows.
He's like, what are you guys
I guess
talking
that's my
about?
nickname now.
Yeah, Jayhawks. I mean, come on, man.
Is that Yu-Gi-Oh?
To be fair, I don't know what you're talking about, so.
God.
But it doesn't do us any good because it ages us pretty bad.
It does, and
It
so
does,
the younger
but
audience is like,
it also lets us connect with our audience.
Exactly, it does. A wide
Like,
range.
I remember that.
No, it's just dumb.
that's what they're saying right now. Like, okay, I'm gonna go check out who else is live right now.
Yeah.
But guys, I mean, look, we have a huge selection of topics today that we're going to go over. I mean, look, we're talking about, not only are we talking about X-Men 97, but we're talking about Rebel Moon 2. Is it Rebel Moon 2?
I can officially say that I'll get my footage and video from the set visit in 2 days.
Oh,
Nice.
they did reach out to you.
They did. Yes.
No, he reached out to them. He was like,
know.
it's released. Can I have it?
Either way, I was under the impression that you were going to reach out to them and say, hey, I need the footage. They're going to be like, oh, shit.
Footage? What footage?
Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you.
You know what we did with that?
I thought the exact same thing.
I think we gave it to Zach.
Like me and Aaron were talking back and forth. It's like, are we even going to get our stuff back? And then they reached out to me.
That's so weird because
okay.
I saw someone post their video, at least one video of them.
Well, here's the thing: is that they gave
like
footage,
Netflix should reach out to you soon. Like, oh, okay.
they gave footage to those who were like journalists and media writers.
Yeah.
Who went to the set and they let them post earlier. But I guess us artists who went there on our set visit, I guess we were just chopped liver. But whatever. I'm still excited to see it.
That's not really fair, but I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. They want to promote the movie, and so they're going to use journalists to do it, and then us as later on. It's like, okay, cool, I get it. So I'm not mad about it, but it was just interesting. Like, I did think for a second, like, are they just going to not give it to us? And I was like, that would not really surprise me, but they are. So it's should be a fun time. But yes, we'll be talking about that as well as the latest trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Woo! I thought it looked so good. I was like, dude, this looks badass.
And they actually have sleeveless Wolverine in there with the plastic
Save that for
suit.
last.
Yeah, we can save it for last for
Okay,
sure.
cool.
Okay.
Cool.
As a favor to you, Phil.
Thank you.
You're welcome. To let you eat.
I just want to finish my food before we get to talking about this trailer.
He's like, well,
Andre's like, I want to talk about this now. It's like, fucking.
no, I didn't say that. I just said it was badass.
Just cool, bitch.
He broke out the Deadpool shirt and everything, so
I know he was ready for it.
he's ready.
Oh, yeah.
He's ready to talk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
we can delve into. So I assume that Phil also wants to go off as well about X-Men 97. So I guess we can go into, Rebel Moon Part 2. I mean, that came out this past week and made a lot of media noise in different ways. And, just talk about how we felt about the movie after watching it. I've had one viewing of it. I need to rewatch it this weekend and solidify more of my thoughts about it. But for me personally, I thought it was better than Part 1. I thought it was more exciting than Part 1. I think we got a bit more knowledge of the characters and not the smoothest way possible, but I did think it was just a more entertaining watch in general than Part 1. And I liked the fact that, we saw just more of the weaponry in the universe of Rebel Moon, which is pretty cool. Cause again, can't really say too much about it, but there's a lot of stuff that I was like, hey, I recognize that. And I still really love Admiral Noble's performance. The actor for him was great.
Yeah.
He's the
Yeah,
best
screen.
performance in
Yeah.
the movies, except for
dope.
Jimmy. I also really like the fact that they teased the whole the way the engines work in these big ships. They tease that without really saying anything about it, so it's kind of like, oh, what the heck's that all about? And you can dive more into it. But honestly, I enjoyed it a lot. It's still got flaws. I think there's still a lot of pacing issues with this one. And it's interesting because as soon as this came out, we started to see interviews of Zack Snyder saying like, well, the director's cut and this original release are basically like alternate realities of the story, which is okay. It's an interesting way to describe it. Essentially saying that there are different takes of the same scenes, but also, of course, a lot more character development, a lot more backstory, and a lot more adult material, such as sex and violence, which should be interesting to see how that plays. But overall, I do think it was more entertaining than part one. I think it's kind of ridiculous that a lot of people are trying to say like, oh, it's just worse than part one, which I just don't think is true, even though I did enjoy a lot of part one. But overall, I'd say if I were to give it a ranking out of 10, I'd say maybe about 6.5 to a 7 out of 10, because there's still plenty of good stuff in there, visuals, action.
Yeah.
There were some decent performances in there. Definitely some ways to improve, and I'm curious to see how the director's cuts improve these movies, but still a fun time, in my opinion.
You got to direct us who's going to go next.
Well, I mean, we can just go in basic order. I mean, Andre, you go ahead.
Oh, I'm next. Okay. So I watched Rebel Moon Part 2. Rebel 2. Rebel Moon 2. I was really excited for it. I thought the beginning of the movie was really good. I was really enjoying it. I love seeing Atticus Noble kind of be brought back to life. It had those cords coming out of him, and that whole sequence I thought was really, really cool. The middle area when they had to start training the people and harvesting the crops, I thought they spent too much time harvesting the crops, too many slow-mo shots. Just a lot of time was invested in harvesting the crops and then they went into training the farmers. And I was like, okay, so I get it. I get why we're doing that and all, but it's like, really, like, the guy Gunner should have been the main guy in charge of harvesting all the crops, because that was like his specialty, right? And I also felt like there should have been more talk about like how training these people is impossible, or this is a fucking pipe dream. And I thought you'd get more of that with what's her name, Sophia Batel's character,
Cora.
With Cora sort of like inspiring them and convincing them that this is what we have to do. They all came there with the intention, but once you get there, you're like, holy shit, I don't know if we can do this. The training segment, I thought I didn't really like it that much. I thought everyone was too good at what they, every time they gave him a gun, they were like, oh wow, you're really good.
Yeah, it's another pacing issue for sure.
Yeah, it was just kind of like the recreation of the Last Supper of the Justice League, I thought was really cool. How everyone sat around a table and they all told their story. The problem with that scene, though, is that I felt like that scene, I think, needed to be in the first one. I think that when they're on their ship heading towards that planet, just before they get attacked and Blood Axe meets his demise. If you haven't seen the movie yet, and I don't know why we're talking about it. I thought that scene would have been good right there, because it would have gave more background to all of the characters.
Or even better yet, what I hope happens with the director's cuts, I hope that scene where they sit down and tell their stories just isn't there, and that it's more organically interspersed throughout the movies. Like, say, for instance, when Nemesis is helping with farming and she sees that boy, maybe there she has like a flashback to her own kids and then a flashback to what happened to her kids in her
very
village.
well could be, but I mean, her background I thought was really cool. Like her origin story, I thought was really cool. It did kind of feel like maybe this should have been like a series to give each character more time and more development. But I get it; it's a movie; it's fine. Once the battle started at the end, I thought it was pretty badass. I mean, visually, the movie was incredible. I was like, holy fuck. That was breathtaking. I was like, Jesus Christ. But in the final battle, some of the things that bothered me was that like Cora wasn't really involved in fighting with her people on the ground. She was in the ship, but here's the thing though. Like, I thought the whole thing of her going on the ship and the way they did that, I thought was really cool. How she had Gunner put that smoke bomb so it looks like their ship was damaged. Like
That
all
was
of that
really
was
clever.
that
Yeah.
was really cool. I was like, oh, this is badass. I like that, but I kind of wish she was down there fighting with them because now everyone on Vel is fighting with the team that she brought. They don't even know them. They know a little bit of them.
I think a rebuke that someone might have to that is concerning the fact that she has been on that ship, and so she would know her way around.
No. Like I get it, and
I see what you're saying, though.
Yeah,
it would have been nice to see her more involved with all of them.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, she has to be the leader. She's the leader of all of this. So I felt like, oh, that's too bad we get to see that, but I get what she's doing. And then the whole battle stand at the end was really cool. Hell of people died, and I wanted the deaths to be. This sounds very cynical of me, but I wanted these deaths to be a little more violent. If they're getting blown up, I want to say, like just kind of like that shocking kind of brutality where you're like, oh shit, like it's Saving Private Ryan when they're trying to attack that tank, and then the Germans show up with that 50 cal big gun, like, and you see guys getting their head blown off and just dying. You're just like, oh god. I was kind of hoping for something where it was like, damn, that's fucked. But overall, though, I enjoyed the movie. It had a lot of pacing issues. I thought it had some writing issues as well. I
also
gave it
line delivery too. There was
it was just kind of like, oh, that's it. Okay. I thought, what's his name, Phil? Ed Skrein?
Ed Skrein.
Ed Skrein. I thought everything he did, I loved. I thought he really sold the character. He did a really good job. There was a lot of talk about Cora that or Sophia Boutella saying that she's not a leading actress and all that stuff. I thought she did fine in this one. I mean, this one was much more action orientated, so she got to sort of act with her body as well and doing moves and stuff. So that was cool. The flashback scene, I don't know. I don't know if that's really redeemable after what she did. I mean, she pulled the trigger, so I was kind of like, well, you kind of did that. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
I understand her, why she did it. But I kind of feel like she should have, instead of, is this spoiler? Can we talk about this? Are we trying to?
No, I say we just go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, when it came to Princess Issa, she straight up shot her point blank. And I know she told her, I forgive you. But I thought it would have played off better if instead she tried to shoot the bad guys and then they framed her for the event.
That's what that was happening when she shot the priests or the people behind her, that she was like rebelling against Belsarius, and that's why he would frame her. So that's what that was happening. But
I mean, I get it because Belsarius is her adoptive father. He's trained her. He's been her father figure mentor for most of her life. So it's kind of like, she's supposed to trust him and his decisions. And she says that in the story. So I get that. But like I said, the action scenes were badass. The ending was cool. And when the Blood Axe army comes flying in their ships and they're fighting the other fighter jets and shit was blown up in the sky and everything, I was telling Ryan, I was like, the only thing I could think of was like, to me, that was a glimpse of like, when she's holding Gunner and they're looking up at the battle that's happening, in the air. I kept thinking like, this is what Justice League Part 3 could have looked like to a degree. You know what I mean? I was like, that's cool. I thought their fighters were cool. Like the way they were designed. But yeah, overall though, I think I gave it, after talking about it now, I originally had it at 6. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. It was a cool movie. I liked it. There's some parts that I think he can improve on.
yeah,
But overall though, it was fun and it was cool and visually amazing.
yeah, absolutely. And Sean, how about you?
So I'll try not to repeat some of the things that you two have already said.
No, go ahead.
Because Anthony and I talked about this on Monday during his show. So one of the things I notice a lot of people aren't talking about or discussing is the score for the film.
Yes,
I love the score, the music that was done.
The score was great.
Was well done. Junkie always, I think, brings his A game, especially when he's doing a Snyder film.
Mm-hmm.
I hope, I'm a vinyl collector, so I hope we get something on vinyl for this film. I'm not sure if they did something for the first one, but I know for Zack Snyder's Justice League, they did like a big box set of a vinyl set for it. So I hope they do something similar. So the score was amazing, very well fitting. I also like seeing James more. He had a bigger role in this one, Jimmy. or he's called James in the second
Yeah.
one. I was glad to see him more involved. We actually got to see him fight a little bit more,
up,
which was good to see. I was a little surprised to see Gunner meet his demise at first, but then I was like, well, you know, no one's really safe. I mean, Darian and Kai got killed in the first film. Gunner dies in this one. I was not happy to see Nemesis killed. That was since the first one, that was my favorite character going into this whole Rebel Moon verse from the first film. So I wasn't overly thrilled to see that she was killed off. But like I said, I don't think really anyone's safe in this universe when it comes to the core characters.
Right.
I think I'll give my rating now. I'm at a 6.5, 7 only because I don't know what I'm missing out on from the director's cut. I don't know what scenes are not there. I don't know what part of the story is not being told. I know we've heard, there's people saying, it's a different universe. It's a totally different story. Some things have changed to make it a different story. Well, I don't know what that story is. I would like to see it before I could say, this movie really isn't that great or it's better.
Yeah, the main thing that I'll say about that is that I know that the author of the novelizations, I believe she was basing what she wrote off of the director's cuts. And so as in regards to the first movie, like I've read the novelization for the first one, there are some scenes, especially early on in the story, that give us more character development for the kid who defects from the Imperium.
Yeah.
And so we get a little bit more insight to him, which is really interesting. And there's some small things here and there. There wasn't anything like extremely drastically different that I saw for the first one. What's up, Boston? But maybe for the second one, we might see a little bit more of that. But anyway.
Yeah, and I hope so. I hope the director's cut, as Andre mentioned, kind of cleans, and you both mentioned, kind of cleans up some of the things that we saw, like the flashbacks. We're all sitting at a picnic table telling our stories. I would like to see that organic thing where they're doing whatever they're doing and something flips them back to
like Zach did that with Man of Steel, so he's done it before.
Well, and go ahead, Andrea.
No, I was gonna say, like, in the way it was worked in, based on the storyboards for Zack Snyder's Justice League Part 2 and 3, was that like it fit in because you just had the introduction of Green Lantern, and he's coming to the conclusion that, like, you know, they're sort of on their last legs trying to figure out what they're gonna do to capture this mother box and go back in time and save everyone. And so by the time you get to that point in the story, everyone's already kind of like, they're somewhat depressed knowing that like they're about to go do something that in which they're probably all going to die. Let alone if they change the timeline, they're not going to exist anymore. So like either way, it's a lose-lose, but they fix everything. So, because I mean, at the end of the day, when the Flash went back, you know, he evaporated into nothingness. Like because he eliminated his own timeline, which is pretty crazy. So but this one, I felt like once we got to that scene, I liked it a lot. That was like one of my favorite scenes. But I felt like it just, and I get it, it was like on the eve of battle. Like, okay, now we have our scene, but I don't know. It just felt like it was a weird spot to have it, even though that doesn't make any sense. But you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do, and I agree with the crop. You know, all the crop scenes. I felt there could have been more time spent on training the community. We could have seen them in more training. I mean, we saw a few of them shooting at these, you know, hay-filled dummies, and it was probably 3 minutes, and that's all we saw. So you can't tell. I mean, that's it. That's all the training that we're gonna give them, and now they're gonna go into battle. I think a little bit more time could have been spent there. My favorite, outside the score, my favorite part was the visuals. The one when the battle started, the very first visual that stood out is when they come out from under the ground, they shoot that rocket into the ship.
Yeah,
and as I was, Anthony and I were talking, I was telling him it wasn't like you see in some movies. Oh, the ship just blew up. I mean, if you actually go back and watch the scene, you watch, then the rocket goes in, and then the ship blows up from the inside. You actually see the whole thing kind of break apart into like several pieces, right?
Oh yeah,
and the environmental changes. So when something happened, whether it was a ship crashed into the ground or something, or one of the like those Walker ships blew up, the environment changed. You saw how the dust, the trees, the bushes, how the ground changed. In some movies, we don't see that. They don't put that much detail or attention into the environmental surroundings of these battles. And I thought they really spent a lot of time making sure that, hey, a ship just crashed here. Now you're going to see the impacts to the ground, the earth, and everything around it. So I really appreciate the time they put on that. So like I said, I'll be happy I'll see what the director's cuts bring. Like I said, I'm at a 6.5, 7 on this, just because I don't know what I'm missing out on yet. So
Right. Absolutely. And Ryan, I know he's busy drawing.
Well, there's not a whole lot that you guys touched on. You know, I mean, I watched it. It was all right. It wasn't bad, and it wasn't anything groundbreaking.
Right.
But you know, I thought he had more fun with Army than he has been with this universe so far. As far as it just felt like a more fun, you know, setting or whatever. But this one was just kind of like, okay. And, you know, like Andre was talking about, you know, with the montage, like I was, you know, training the people to become warriors or whatever, you know, because they're just simple farmers. Watching that sequence reminded me of the Disney's Mulan, when they were like, you know, you're going to make a man out of me or whatever it is, you know, that whole thing, that whole sequence of like, you know, just kind of like getting the villagers ready for battle or whatever. It was kind of that same thing. And they just kind of like, I know there's a longer version that's probably going to have, you know, more exposition and stuff like that. So, but I'm judging it off of what I saw. It was, I mean, it was an entertaining movie. And it wasn't until Gunnar shot the bell that I woke up, because I was bored, for the majority of that, you know, like right until that point. And then it got interesting. Because it was like, okay, you forced action. Okay, awesome. Let's go. What's going to happen? What are they going to do? Let's, you know, Korra's like, nah, don't do it. He's like, fuck that. I ain't listening to you. I'm going to hit it. And, you know, I mean, that's what he did. He was like, no, fuck this. We didn't spend all the whole montage, Korra.
All that grain.
I saw Mulan.
I was surprised that she was gonna give up. Like, I'll just turn myself in, guys. Forget it. Like, we just spent all this time. Fuck that.
So hey, we just processed all that grain. We're fighting.
Yeah. He's like, she's like, I don't want to eat all that. I think you guys should. But it was just sort of like, okay, you know, she's trying to be selfless. I get it, but I'm not sold on Korra in part 1 or part 2. I think she did okay. I don't think she was the standout character. Okay, thanks a lot. So I think Green Arrow in the last one did a great job. I think Gunnar in this episode, he was actually more interesting than the last one. I didn't buy the whole I love you too. It was like that reminded me of Rogue One when they were about to destroy the the Death Star or whatever. When he died, it wasn't really that impactful. It was like, all right, well, what's next? When the princess died, it reminded me of Super Mario Brothers. You know, when you play a video game, Princess is Another Castle, because there wasn't really, you know, she kind of, you know, glittered off into whatever, and I was like, okay, so that was pointless, because there wasn't, like Andre said earlier, there wasn't any real ramifications because she didn't do it. She had the intent, and yes, I don't believe that, you know, it was redeemable. Like, I don't even care what, you know, that the princess was like, I forgive you, you can do it, whatever, shoot me. But Korra, in her mind, you know, her perspective, her paradigm, what she's looking at and weighing everything, she was like, no, I'm going to shoot this kid because this is, you know, I'm going to be protected by Belisarius and all that and whatever. And and so I didn't buy that. I didn't make her, just because the princess didn't actually die doesn't redeem her character.
Yeah, she still did
good.
it.
She has remorse. I'm glad she has remorse later on after the fact. Like, I fucked up. I get, you know, and people can fuck up. You know, and they can be redeemed. But, you know, I was just that. I was like, nah, that was just too. You shot a kid. And
a magical
also,
kid.
Yeah. And you know, I did like. And the part of that scene just kind of what took me out of that scene before that happened was the violinist and the cellist. I was like, wait, why aren't they riding horses? You have fucking violins. You have shit that we know. Look, they did a more creative, you know, job with like Jabba's fucking band than they did with you know, having, you know, they had masks on playing the instruments, but that's just because whatever aliens they were.
I thought that was cool. Like the way they looked.
I thought it was weird. I was
It
like,
was an interesting aesthetic.
It's supposed to be weird.
It would have been interesting if it was alien,
Mm.
but it wasn't. It was like, oh no, hey, let's drop off, pick up these instruments from Earth. Same thing with the guy with the fucking overalls. I was like, the fuck overalls?
I mean, he's a farmer, so
It doesn't fucking matter, dude. Fucking Luke Skywalker didn't fucking wear overalls.
This is not
I'm
Star
just
Wars,
saying.
though.
I understand that, like, he's mixing and matching and all that, but it's just
Hmm.
like, what? It took me out of the experience and sort of made me think, like, well, why would you include that? Just if you're going to be alien, be alien. And I get that this connects to Army of the Dead and Earth, and all that kind of somehow, some way. I think that they are with the in the house. What's up? I think that with Rebel Moon becoming 2 films, because it was originally slated as 1, they broke it up into 2 because he wanted to tell a more cohesive story, a better story. Cool, but then he, at the end, you really don't resolve much. And you leave it open, and I understand that's why they came out right before the film. They were like, and by the way, Rebel Moon 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I was like, okay, I get why you were doing that, because you just left it open-ended and it wasn't really a complete story. It didn't have, it didn't finish, it finished, it really didn't even finish a whole arc for Korra, in my opinion. It was entertaining. I don't think this was his best film.
No,
I don't think that Rebel Moon is his best venture so far. I mean, and just judging it from these 2 films, let's, because this is what they signed up for. I disregard anything beyond, like, spinoffs or
anything that you haven't seen,
lore or anything like that. Because only because he sold Netflix on this. This is my story. This is what I want to tell. This is it. Whatever. And anything later on is an addition, an additive, and wasn't part of the initial ask or the initial treatment or the initial presentation that he gave Netflix executives. And I think, Man of Steel is far superior than I think it's his best film, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
His most complete film, I think. But there are good things in this film.
Okay, so what were some of the good things that you did like about Rebel Moon?
Oh yeah, no, there are great. Look, number one, I've always said that I think that Zack Snyder is sort of the this generation's George Lucas as far as being a visual director. Visually, everything is beautiful. Visually, everything is stunning and interesting, minus the violins and shit like that. Everything else, like, was good. I think that it was believable as far as like all the special effects. I didn't be like, oh man, look at that fake thing or this, that, or whatever. So visually, this guy's got it. He's got a keen eye for that.
Nothing
kind of
looked fake.
Right. Nothing looked fake. Exactly.
Nothing in this one looked like, ooh. Even like in the first one, there was a couple of shots where you're like, what?
Like a tentacle creature. That one was rough.
Yeah, or like when they were landing on that one planet, I was like, oh, that's.
Oh no, you're right. The Tron planet. Yes.
Yeah, but then everything
I
in
forgot
this
about
one,
that one. No,
I loved it.
In this film,
yeah,
I did not have that. It didn't take me. The only thing that took me out was the violin and the overalls. Other than that, I was locked.
That's all. That's all it took. Violin, and some overalls, and fuck.
You put overalls in your film, it's immediate down 1 point.
Sounds like Ryan's got some hate for overalls.
I know.
Overalls are made by women. No.
Oh my god.
There we go.
Anyway,
We just lost our sponsor.
oh, we have a sponsor?
No,
We did.
I didn't
no, we did.
But anyway, I was entertained, but I was expecting a little bit more.
I can absolutely agree
a little
with
bit
that.
more from this one. I was like, after watching part 1 and part 2, am I interested? Am I ready to watch an extended edition? Not really. I'll have to see some reason to watch those.
Fair
Do
enough.
I believe that watching part 1 and part 2 merits or warrants 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever? I don't believe so yet. I just don't believe so, because it just didn't. It didn't say, you know what, I need to watch this thing again. I'm so enthralled by this. I don't have that feeling of like, oh man, I gotta watch it again. I watch, and usually I give, I'll give films a couple watches, even bad ones that I'll watch twice just to pick up on some things that I didn't catch the first time. I will watch these again, but I'm waiting just because I know I'm gonna have to sit through it. Might as well sit through the longer editions, and I'll wait for both of them to come out, maybe. So I don't know. But that's my take on it. Sorry if I took too long-winded, whatever. But I wanted to. The lightsaber sequences, very cool effect and very interesting fight choreography. However, there was I was watching it and it was sort of like, all right, so guy number 1 with blue sword, you're gonna attack her now. And then guy number 2, you wait for him to attack. And then guy number 3, after guy number 2's done, then you come in after her. And it was just sort of like
it looked too choreographed.
It looked too choreographed. I liked that she lost her limb, but I preferred the first time she lost her limb because it felt more egregious, or it felt okay. When she lost her limb with the lightsaber, I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't care. But when she first lost her arm, I was like, oh shit, that sucks. Fuck that. I thought that her flashback sequence was better than the spider thing from the first one. I like this one better.
Yeah, that was a cool
so.
And I actually want to piggyback off something you said, where it's like this movie has positives and negatives to it. It's not an awful movie, nor is it a great movie. And I think, just as a general statement, I think there's a lot of people that have a hard time being in that gray.
Yeah, I try to say nuanced. When
right.
you're critiquing something, I try to be as honest as I can with what I've been presented. Right. I'm not just like, oh, I'm a fanboy and therefore I'm, Zack Snyder can do no wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's absolutely true. Cause like, I think a lot of it's just due to social media, where people kind of get in the mindset where a movie or TV show is either great or it's hot garbage or trash or whatever word they want to use.
Right.
And
it's sort of that mindset, either you're on this side or you're on that side. Either you're with us or you're with them, and it's like, there's no middle ground. There's no room for that. And if you do have room, or if you are one of those sort of people that can, differentiate or whatever, no one wants to listen to you. They only want to listen to people who are over the board on this side or over the board on that side of whatever fence it is.
Right. And so when it gets to the point where you're either on one side or the other, like for instance, this week, I mean, there's been plenty of people who have shown grievances with the movie, which again, there's some things that definitely could have been better. But there are people that kind of go the extra mile to try to make the movie even worse. Like for instance, they'll point out the pacing, which again, we've all expressed is a big issue with these two movies. And that's absolutely true. But then you'll see stuff like I saw this conversation happening in multiple places where basically are saying that, oh, well, hold on a second. Like, why are these farmers in a sci-fi universe farming by hand? It's like, well, they answered that question at the beginning of the first movie.
In the first movie.
And also, like, there are cultures even on our planet today that intentionally decide to use... Yeah, they intentionally decide to use more traditional methods to work the land or farm or whatever the case may be. Like those cultures exist. And there's people that pretend like, oh, if you're in a modern society, no one's going to do that. It's like there literally is people that do that, though. Like that just shows a lot of ignorance. So again, and also
even in the U.S.
Yeah, even in the U.S., there's parts that have that too. And also
yes, there's ignorance in the U.S.
I mean, true.
No, never.
There is that.
Never.
Yeah, but like, and then also if you're someone who loves Zack Snyder, like for me, like I went and saw the set of the film, so you could very easily say that like, I would have every right to just be over the moon about this movie, regardless of how good it was. Like I had my own criticisms, of course. But let's say you're someone who, is a big Zack Snyder fan. You'll go out of your way to try to, defend everything, which like this movie, you can defend plenty of things about it. But there are some things where it's like, okay, yeah, that could have been better. Absolutely. And so again, like Ryan was saying, you got to have nuance in your conversation about movies, but social media, because of how engagement works, doesn't necessarily care for that. And so it's either you think the movie sucks or you think the movie's like one of the greatest things ever made. And so again,
what is that noise?
Somebody's snoring.
Is it a dog?
That's my dog.
Oh.
He's
I
like,
thought it might be. I was like,
he's like, I don't know. I don't hear anything at all, guys.
Well, I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, what is that? Like, because I have my headphones, I have earbuds in. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's my dog.
He's
Yeah,
like,
that's-
I you put your dog to sleep. No,
that's Bane. I have Bane in here with me.
Nice. But I guess just to summarize my thought, like, again, nuance when it comes to conversation about movies is an important thing because, again, at the end of the day, all art has some quality in some form or fashion. Even the worst drawings in the world, there's something good about it. And so
there's nothing redeemable about Lake Placid.
No idea what
that's
the heck
not
that
a
is.
bad
That's
movie, though. Bill Pullman, one of his best.
Bill Pullman, no, that was ID4.
Yeah.
Independence Day was his best film.
And space. No, I'm sorry, Spaceballs.
Oh,
Yeah.
Spaceballs is probably his best. Although Independence Day is one of the most iconic because of that. The speech
Because
he
of the
gives,
speech, yeah.
dude, he nails it though.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
I was
Definitely.
like, this is
I'm going
great.
with
But again, like just to
He's like, I'm
reiterate,
gonna go with ID4.
just to reiterate for those out there, like
Independence Day.
it's okay to have nuance in your conversations about movies. It's okay to be in the middle, in the gray area. It might be lonely there, but it's okay. In fact, in my opinion, it's one of the more intellectual places to be as a consumer of entertainment. So with that, let's go to Phil on his talks or his thoughts.
I mean, I've had this conversation. I've had not this exact conversation, but I've had conversations about Rebel Moon for the last week. I don't know. I liked it. I liked part 2 just fine. I thought it was better than part 1. I'm just of the mind that I'm just very eager and curious to see what the extended R-rated cuts include and what's different about them, because obviously that is very much more his speed in terms of filmmaking and whatnot. And I'm kind of with Ryan in that I don't think these two as they're presented are his best films, but I'm also not going to equate them to anything he did in DC, because I think his DC films are, at least for me, they're the best things I think he's done outside of DC. I'm a little bit more on the side of like Army of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead personally. Like I like those two films a lot more. But I just think going back to part 2, it was a fun watch. I really do have to watch it again just to see some stuff that I did miss. I actually quite like the world building that has been done in these films, but I do also think that because of the nature of the fact that they part it down to PG-13 and they knew full well they were getting 2 different versions of the same movie, I do think there was a level of, okay, we're just going to do this for the PG-13, but here's what we really want to do with the R-rated cuts. I do think that the more definitive versions of this story will be the R-rated version of it. But, as it's presented, I've seen a lot of hemming and hawing of people comparing it to Star Wars. I don't necessarily see that at all. I think even just when we talked about the first film, I was like, it's Mad Max and, Seven Samurai rolled in with a little bit of Dune.
And people trying to call the swords lightsabers when the only similarity is that they glow, and that's it. That's where all the similarity
they're
is.
red hot.
Yeah, and
they are hot.
I'm with Sean in that Nemesis was my favorite character, and watching them go was just it was a little heartbreaking. Not gonna lie, that really that kind of hurt. But I do like her backstory a lot. I do like that round table Last Supper sequence they do have. I thought that was very ingenious, and I of course immediately was like, yeah, this was definitely probably supposed to be in Justice League 2. There's no doubt about that. And he even said as much. Like he did sneak a couple things in from his Justice League sequels into this, which was just cool. So that was good. I don't understand why a lot of these reviews tend to be more about him than the actual movies themselves. That's the part that really, at least to me, from the negative side of things, it never sits well, because like you can have a nuanced conversation, you can have your likes and dislikes, and I'll even go as far as to say, like, I think the weakest element of these movies, at least the 2, is that the story itself is very much rooted in Seven Samurai, but the thing is, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because as Hollywood continues to churn out regurgitation after regurgitation in some form or another, there's going to be some overlap. You're going to see stuff inspired by things that have come before. That's just inherent.
Nothing new under the sun. Yeah,
pretty much. But the thing is, I think the captivating thing here is, I'll disagree with Ryan about this, is the characters are, Korra, Gonar, oh man, what Staznair's character, Tarok. I think there's just, it really just kind of depends on how invested you really feel in terms of this world and these characters. Like, is sci-fi more your bag, or is, say, something like Army of the Dead more your style? Because for me, I like both, but if you ask me which one I like more, I'm probably going to lean more towards Army of the Dead. But then again, is that really a fair comparison? Because to Ryan's point, Army of the Dead and even Man of Steel are very much more complete films, as opposed to Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2, as we've seen them presented to us right now. Not necessarily, so I don't necessarily think it's a fair comparison right now. But I think, on the whole, like I enjoyed it, and even the ending. I mean, Snyder mentioned even prior, like he's got ideas for more movies. The fact that they came out and said, yeah, we want to do like 4 more movies, but essentially it's going to be 2 movies because they're treating it like a Seven Samurai situation. They want to make 2 more movies, but they want to split it up into 2. They want to split each one into 2 parts. So therefore, movie 3 and 4 would technically be part 2, and then movie 5 and 6 would technically be part 3. And I understand the thought process in that.
But weren't there originally supposed to be spin-offs? Isn't there?
There was like a show.
Allegedly. Okay. I don't know how true that is because some of that information came from Scooper Madness and people I don't necessarily trust.
Ice cream.
Okay. Ice cream. What?
So I again, like on the whole, I'm probably a little bit more favorable than everyone else on the panel. I'm probably leaning towards a 7.5 out of 10. But again, this is all under the impression that I'm assuming and imagining that the R-rated versions of these films are a hell of a lot more of what he truly envisioned for them, as opposed to what we saw here. And honestly, like if I'm looking at like favorite scenes, I mean that Nemesis fight, despite how choreographed it was, I still enjoid that, and I do also. I think the opening of the movie is actually really powerful. I did like how you panned in on was Noble's ship, and then you saw like the rebirth of him too, and like even towards the beginning of the movie, like the back of his head skin is like all flipped up.
That was interesting.
Fucking cords and shit. I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is
science
fiction.
Which one is the P tube?
The funny thing is like people bitch and moan about that wanting new stuff with science fiction, and I look at this movie and I was like, this is really inventive in a lot of ways, and people are really so lazy to be like, this is just vanilla Star Wars. I'm like, what in the fuck are you talking about? This has a bare hint of Star Wars in it.
Like people going as far as to call Jimmy knockoff C-3POs. Like the only similarities they have is that they're cybernetic beings.
Not even close.
I thought his character was the least utilized at all.
I also
for
think
both films, he was just kind of there.
Yeah,
they picked on him in the first one. They were like, "Aha! Look, we're gonna pick on this droid, but he's got to take our stuff." Yeah, he's got to take our stuff that we can't carry. Let's not wait until after he's done with that. And then this one, I thought was cool when he his jump. I was like, "Ooh, that's cool." Animated, but I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." But I mean, he really didn't do much.
He just took out that walker by himself.
I think there's a lot more for Jimmy in the extended cuts. That's my guess. I would have.
And the thing that I'm curious
he had
about,
the antlers that were at the end of the battle broken off, and his head.
He killed a deer.
Yeah.
So
that
I believe what happened is that he finds a dead deer, but
he finds a dead deer, and then that's when he puts it on, and that whole scene should be in the extended cut, I would imagine.
Right. But my curiosity with this, sorry,
I also
I don't mean to interrupt you, but
really, I also just really quick,
he wasn't done yet.
I also really did like one thing. One scene I did like was the assassination of the king, played by Cary Elwes, and the entire family. I thought that was very Ides of March. And I thought that was very, very much intentional. And I did quite enjoy that. And I also really liked how when the Balisarius's Regent army, like when they decide to commit mass murder on people, they throw these bags over people's heads and they've got this marking on them. And I just find that very interesting. And I really want to know the reasoning and conception behind that thing, because they do the same thing again when General Titus witnesses his entire battalion just get fucking murked.
Right.
And I was like, I want to know the significance behind the face mask, the burlap sacks with the marking. I really am very curious about that aspect of
that's an interesting thing about like Rebel Moon, because like again, there's a lot of things I can't talk about, but there's a lot of small details behind the scenes that you don't really get to look into, but like are so fascinating when you get to see them up close. Like they talk about in the creating of the Rebel Moon like documentary, like the languages of everything that they created. It's all really interesting. But my curiosity with these movies is, the big Snyder fan in me wants to Space Illuminati. The big Snyder fan in me wants to kind of think that this is almost kind of like a sort of experiment or exercise in filmmaking, or like to kind of show how to kind of show how different cuts of a movie can be. Because like we've seen that with BVS Ultimate Edition, Zack Snyder's Justice League. So he's already kind of done that. But what if this is more like an intentional version of that? And again, that might be a bit optimistic, but that's definitely something that's possible. And so it all just really depends on exactly how different the director's cuts of these will be. And like for me, I don't want to get my hopes up too high to where like, because I say, oh, there's different takes of different scenes. And again, that's probably the case. But I also don't want to sit here and think like, oh, it's going to be a completely different movie and completely change everything. Even though I know he's capable of that, but I don't know.
It really is, though. I think it really is going to be slightly. It's going to feel like a different movie because, you know, even the girl, the blonde girl from the farm on Belt. I mean, even she seemed like her character was a bit displaced in the second movie, and that there should have been more talk between her. Because I mean, like the breakdown before the movie even came out, before part one came out, was that, you know, she's the one who really influences Jimmy to change his ways is by befriending her. Right. And you didn't really get to see a lot of that in the first one, so you saw a little bit of it, but I think there's more to that. So I think there's a lot more character development in the second one, at least in some parts.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yes, more character development in this one.
But I think that, you know, moving forward, I mean, look, Nemesis is dead, Gunner is dead. The other hunter that, you know, ended up having a much smaller role than I thought he would, he's dead. So the team is a little bit smaller now. So it's going to be easier to kind of focus on each character because the character of Tarek has a lot of background to him, and they try to put as much of that as they could into this film, which I thought I kind of wanted more of that in the first one because I think the first one's your chance to really introduce all these characters and their backstories, and then when you go into the second one, it's just it goes right into battle.
One thing that I didn't touch on that I just remembered about was the blood axes at the end. I thought it was, in my opinion, it was just very underwhelming. It just reminded me of X-Wings coming at the last minute. And she looked too small to be in the cockpit. I would have actually shrunk the cockpit a little bit just to make her kind of fill it out a little bit more because it just kind of looked silly. But it just wasn't even impactful. It was just kind of there.
This kind of made you wonder, what were they doing the whole time?
I would say that's a bit of a nitpick.
You're definitely correct. That's a nitpick. I don't like, and this will go back to episode 3. I don't like that they don't wear fucking helmets. They're like, I'm just gonna wear this thing so you can see my face. It was the same thing with her. I was like, put a fucking helmet on because you guys are flying these damn planes or aircraft or spacecrafts.
I mean, to be fair, if she did wear a helmet though, it would just be even more of an X-wing comparison.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh,
but it wouldn't be like, oh, she just jumped in the cockpit and there she is. Same thing with Anakin and Obi-Wan. I had a problem with it because even the fucking clone troopers were wearing helmets. You saw their face, but they were wearing helmets.
But they weren't though. They were just like,
yeah. But safety first.
Safety first.
But the ships that they flew in on, I thought looked really, really badass.
This looked cool,
and we saw it in the first one, but it looked really cool. A lot of the explosions,
it was just like, oh look, they're just flying around shooting shit. Okay.
Well, like a lot of the explosions in midair looked, and here we go again. It looked a lot like the explosions we saw in Justice League. You know, when they were fighting against Darkseid's army in the Zack Snyder Justice League. So that I thought was super cool. The lightsaber scene, the fact that she fought him on a ship that was like basically tanking, you know what I mean? Just going straight down. Cool. And they were sliding around, all that. I thought that was really cool. I thought it was shot really well. There was never a point in that scene where I was like, I don't get what's going on, or wait, what's happening now? It was just, I thought that scene was really well done. I was like, yeah, they're sliding down, they're stopping, they're fighting. And
there was that one guy when he fell out of the ship because he got killed by,
who, Gunner?
No. The farmer with the beard. And he got knocked out of the ship and he fell and he hit the ground. When he hit the ground, that shit was hilarious. I started laughing. I was like,
I knew you were gonna laugh.
That was so funny.
I freaking knew
it. Was just like
what's hard about that character too is that like in the first one, they kind of alluded to the fact that he had a thing for Korra. So I definitely thought he was gonna have a much bigger role in the overall story. And then all of a sudden you don't obvious. What's that?
Yeah, they kind of
make it pretty
face,
obvious.
Andre.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying
obvious.
I thought he'd have a much bigger role in the overall story. He didn't, and I mean, it didn't affect my judging of the movie. I just thought that was the case. Sure. But it was pretty brutal when Noble jumps down into the trenches, and he's just like slicing and dicing dudes left and right and killing them. I was just like,
That was
damn.
dope.
I love that. That was because right there it was like I said, right when Gunner hit the bell, I was like, oh, action, and then he jumped in. He went into the trenches. He did. I was like, dude, that's pretty good.
And then like well, actually, real quick, guys, we have 125 watching right now. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on X, make sure you follow this account, which is Dawson's account. We're live every week, so definitely do that so that you don't miss any of the episodes. But yeah, definitely like and subscribe and share this link on social media. But so Noble jumps down and he's just murking dudes left and right, and these farmers are just like helpless. They're just like, oh no, and again, I was like, dude, if the radar version makes their deaths more violent, I'm gonna love that. Like it's gonna look cool because it's gonna have a bigger impact when you see them getting slashed. You're like, oh man.
You know what detail I really love is that with the swords specifically. I mean, obviously we knew with Nemesis she has her arms are prosthetic, and so that's how she holds them because they're super hot.
Yes.
I love the detail where when Cora gets on the ship, she tries to pick one up, it burns her, and so she finds some cloth.
That was a good little
small details like that.
Detail, yeah.
Yeah,
that was cool. That was cool. She wrapped it up because she was like, "Oh, it's fucking hot."
Yeah.
And then when they were fighting and it was close to her, she was like, "Ah," because it was super hot.
Well, she had the one hand on.
Yeah,
it
she was
too,
like, "Ah." So that was cool. That whole fight I thought was really good. And then, of course, she slices off his head, which I'm like, dude, I hope that is a much more vivid scene too. Like,
we're gonna see all of that.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, again, I won't be able to say what it is, but I did see some stuff that
I mean, the movie's already out.
It's already out, dude. Just
I still have I'm still like NDI and stuff, but like all I'll say is I did see some familiar stuff in the movie.
That's a
All right,
different.
sorry,
one.
what is it?
Ooh, I like that one.
Inside.
Non-disclosure
NDA,
agreement, gentlemen.
yeah.
Non-disclosure agreement.
NDA.
But I just will say that I did see some familiar stuff in the film. And there's one thing that I didn't see that I wanted to see, and it's a small detail, but it won't make sense until I'm able to release all the footage and stuff. But
it's a story. It's a story for another time.
Well, I mean, really, like they kicked their ass until they dropped those walkers, which it kind of reminded me of. And I'm not saying it was a copy whatsoever. It reminded me of the scene in Lord of the Rings when the big what they call the
Oliphants.
Yeah, when they show up, I was like, "Oh shit!"
Well, it reminded me of Geonosis, but it also I liked how the I liked how they got picked up. I thought that the physics of that looked really good. I was like, "Ooh, that's great animation."
Yeah.
Well, and then they blow up that one, and they're like, "Oh, we killed it," and then like another one's behind it. I was like, "Oh, there's more of them." You didn't even allude to that. Yeah, I was like, I didn't even know there was more out there. God damn it! I think it would have been cool if you'd seen like a bunch of them coming, and you were just like, "Oh shit!" Because like,
all is lost. They're like they kill the one. It's like,
I'm sorry. What the fuck?
There's fucking 4 more. But like I thought it was cool that what's his name? The general I forgot his name. But
General Grievous.
Yeah, Grievous. Where they're shooting, he looks over and he sees them coming, and even he has a look on his face like, "Oh fuck! Like, how are we gonna stop that?"
Yeah,
Titus.
Titus. Yeah, and then like that one little hatch opens, and there's like 3 farmers like they just get blown up. Like, I was like, "Oh god!" But I mean, like when Nemesis dies, it was definitely a scene when I was watching it. I was like, "She's gonna die. It's happening right now." Oh, there it is. I mean, I felt it coming. And they kind of, she didn't have much more to fight for. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't like a part of her story that hadn't been like completed yet. Like, oh, I'm trying to find my daughter, or I'm trying to liberate something. She was just, what's up, Sean?
Oh, hey, what's going on? Hey, thanks for joining us.
It's
he's moving.
Oh yeah, his follows him.
Oh,
I have one of those 360 cameras, so I can have it.
Ooh,
motion me.
You can't have any sudden motions, or otherwise it'll go
One
with
thing
you.
I think they should have left for like the longer edition or extended edition or whatever was the presentation of the flags. That was part of what was just kind of boring for me. I didn't care that the wolf meant this and the heart meant this and all this, and then it was all just a setup to see the one flag burning. and I was just like,
Mm.
okay, I didn't care. Like I wasn't invested at that to that extent or that point to be like, is this flag? We took time out of our day to crochet. It's like I was like, oh,
And then they burned him at the end.
Also, like when it comes to Nemesis's death scene, I think they dwelt on that interaction between her and the boy way too long. They let that linger.
I thought the boy was like gonna get chopped, because he went over to help her, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what are you gonna do, kid?
Yeah. I don't know. It just whenever like she was making eye contact with him when all the other guys were dead, it just was like, okay, I get what you're trying to do. Let's move along a little bit. It's okay. It's still lingering. Let's move along. I get what they're trying to do. And again, maybe in the director's cut, we'll see maybe them actually say more to each other during that. But it just kind of seemed like, okay, let's move on from this now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with that, I mean, yeah, again, like we all kind of said, there's plenty of things to like about it, and there were some issues with it for sure. Wait to see the director's cut and see what difference that makes. But with that being said, we're going to transition to a more, I guess, Marvel all the rest of the way, because we got X-Men 97 as well as Deadpool and Wolverine. But we'll go over this latest episode of X-Men 97. I just watched it a little bit before we went live, but I guess we'll start from the bottom, then back up to the top. Phil, what was your take on this week's episode of X-Men 97?
Okay, I watched this early this morning at about 2:30 my time, Pacific Standard Time. We're spoilers, right? We can talk spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the episode opens with the fucking funeral of Gambit, and I'm already a sobbing mess, straight up. Like I saw the people pulling the coffin, and I'm just like, no, and then Nightcrawler is the father giving the eulogy, and it's like, fuck me, you're gonna make me live through this again. Okay, awesome, right? Jubilee's there, she's fucking bawling her eyes out. She's clearly mad that Rogue isn't there, but like Beast then chimes in as just like, people grieve in their own way, yada yada. And then we get her fucking smashing through the air almost Superman style, and she's looking for Bolivar Trask, and I'm like, oh, she's pissed. She's beyond pissed. She is.
And Thunderbolt Ross, was he voiced by the guy who played it in the MCU?
Sounded like William Hurt. I don't know if it
sounded
was
like him.
I don't know if it was, but whoever did it, they did a fucking spot on job. It was great. But she fucking tore that unit up, dude. And I was like, okay, this is Rogue tapping into that Captain Marvel shit, and I'm here for it. It was beautiful. And then she fucking meets Captain fucking America. And I was like, okay, cool. Because I wondered how that whole thing was going to happen, because they teased in the latter half teaser trailer, they showed off that, Captain America's shield was going to come in the snow. And I'm like, okay, are we like getting a flashback with Wolverine? Are we doing like, how is Captain America going to factor in all this? And sure enough, he's on the side. No, he's not really on the side, but he's like trying to figure out who the fuck attacked Genosha too. And he's hot on the trail of Bolivar Trask. And he tells Rogue, like, hey, I'm like on this. Once we find out, me and my team can make a move, but I can't go into Mexico City just tossing my shield around. And then she's like, oh, okay, you can't help us? Fine. Takes his shield and fucking throws it in the fucking mountain. I was like,
yeah,
Rogue's my girl.
Rogue is my girl. Captain America was like, fuck.
Dude, that was so metal. That was so fucking metal. But then when he mentioned his team, I'm like, the Avengers? That's the only logical thing I can think of.
That's the only thing.
It's got to be, right? And then I'm like, well, shit, who could be on the roster? Probably Thor, Doctor Strange, Iron Man. Who, like, if they do the Avengers, will they show up by the end of the season? Maybe, I don't know. If they do, fuck yeah, I'm on board. Yeah, because cool. They had fucking Thunderbolt Ross in this episode, and it sounds just like fucking William Hurt. Okay,
it was cool that they even did that. I was like, badass.
Right? And I was surprised they didn't get Chris Evans to voice Captain America. I was shocked they didn't do that.
It was Josh Keaton, right?
Yeah.
But then she goes to Mexico City and she fucking runs into Nightcrawler after running into Guy Ritchie, and she fucking breaks down, dude. And I'm like, oh man, oh my God, like now I'm kind of back up in my feels again. Because fucking Gambit he was Gambit. He was the dude. He was the fucking man in X-Men and in 97. And like to see him sacrifice himself for all of Genosha, I was like, fuck, dude, this is savage. And then you get the X-Men going to Genosha, playing fucking, what do we want to use the analogy here? Like, Red
Like
Cross.
diplomat?
Almost diplomatic in a sense. And then they do, Andre, you mentioned this, they do Emma Frost getting her fucking diamond powers, dude. I was like, yes.
That was badass.
I was like, this is fucking sauce. This is how it's done, right? And they save her, but then obviously, like, Scott sheds a tear because he's like, it wasn't Madeline Pryor. So he's like, well, fuck. And then, like, towards the end of the episode, you get fucking Cable. I was like, bro, Cable.
Yeah, Cable shows up.
This is fan-fucking-tastic. And then they end the episode on like the biggest shock, surprise, not shock, surprise. Magneto's still alive. And I was like, okay,
Right.
if he's still alive, that means some other mutants are still alive. And I'm betting donuts of dollars Sinister's experimenting on them. That's my guess. But to wind it back a little bit though before that, fucking turning Bolivar Trask into a fucking human sentinel. I was like, dude, this is like early day Nimrod, if anything. That's what this I think is leading to. But fuck me, dude. Excellent episode. I don't have any qualms with it. I enjoyed the fuck out of it. And even like the bit with Sunspot and Jubilee going to Sunspot's house and basically him coming out to his family, and his family was like, oh yeah, we knew. His mom's like, oh yeah, we wanted you to tell us yourself, but you have to keep this a secret for the rest of the shareholders in the business. And he's just like, are you fucking serious? Really? Like, and the thought process behind it from the mom's perspective, I'm like, okay, real world talk. Yeah, mutants everywhere are kind of a hot button thing, but at the same time, this is your fucking child. You should stand next to them regardless of whatever the fuck your shareholders are gonna say. Period, bar none. End of conversation. And I totally understand the allegory that Bo DeMaio was going for there too, and it 100% fits even in today's society. Like, people are still afraid to come out to their parents because of certain reactions, and it's like, dude, this show is so fucking human, and it's about people with superpowers. That's what I love about it. And every episode, I mean, the bar is from good to fucking fantastic. Yeah, like there have been some episodes like episode 4 and episode 6 that were kind of, you could argue they're filler, and you could argue that there were some things that you could have done differently, but even still, they weren't bad.
Entertaining.
They were good. They were fucking great. Like the last episode had fucking Professor Xavier in it and the Shi'ar Empire. Vulcan, for fuck's sake. Oh my God. Like this show is just oozing fucking charisma and awesome. The animation is fucking getting better and better with every episode, dude. I am loving this, and I cannot wait to see how this shit wraps up, because the next 3 episodes are a 3-part finale. So I'm here for it. I love X-Men 97. I thought this episode was like 8, if not like a 9 out of 10. Straight up. The only thing where I was just like, I'm giving it a 9 is because you reminded me of Gambit and the fact that he's dead. That's a chop to the heart right there. And I'm just like, what the fuck, guys? No, seriously, like fucking beautiful episode, phenomenal voice acting, phenomenal performances, beautiful animation. Like I fucking loved it, dude. I love this show. I'm here for whatever's next.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. Ryan, what'd you think?
Really good.
It's the best thing Disney's put out. As far as Marvel, for Disney Plus, this is the most entertaining and well-written venture so far for me. I mean, like I liked Moon Knight. I didn't think it was bad. I think it was one of the better things they came up with. There's some other things that there were certain parts of the Samuel L. Jackson show that I liked. I liked the premise. The execution of it wasn't the greatest, but I think that I had a lot of fun with the episode. Seeing Scott talk to his son. That was cool. And that was Nightcrawler. I was like, how the hell did the one thing that I thought was funny was Rogue, when she was like destroying those tanks or whatever. She did this like cannonball flip into a kick, And I was like, okay, that was a little too much, but I was like, okay, whatever. They're just trying to show how intense she was, you know.
Mhm.
I thought that her, you know, her back and forth with Captain America was really cool. I liked it, you know. I wished, and I understand why, but I first wished that, you know, it didn't have to be voiced by Chris, but I mean, I would have preferred that he sort of looked like him as far as like, you know, the way they drew him. But I was like, you know what? Look at Wolverine, look at Scott, look at everybody else. They're all sort of comic book accurate. Just keep him comic book accurate. I was like, that's fine. When she threw the shield,
plus, if you had Chris Evans voice the character, then you're saying that every version of Captain America is Chris Evans.
well, every
So
version of
they were
fucking
like, "Oh, let's
Wolverine
forget
has
it."
been Hugh Jackman so far. So
That's not true.
And her version of
Except
Doctor
for-
Strange is
That's
Benedict
not true.
Cumberbatch. So
That's also not true. Vincent Price.
Oh my god.
No,
continue, Ryan.
Cal Dodd voices Wolverine in this show, so that's technically not true about Hugh Jackman.
I get the voice actor, but he was the voice actor that they used in 95 or 96, right?
92.
Same guy?
Yes.
Oh, 92.
Same actor. Yes.
So same guy. So he had the role before Hugh. Which is cool. I don't mind, and you know, yes, he's the only one that sounds a little bit older, but I'm fine with it. He's cool. It's Wolverine, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that this episode was good. I think it was on par with the one that the previous one, not the last one, but the week before. I'm most interested in that story, that aspect of it. I thought the one thing that I didn't agree with or didn't like, as far as like, you know, director's choice, was the guy Bastion. He put on the guy's glasses and then choked him out, and then he took his glasses off as he died. And I was like, what the fuck was the point of putting his glasses on? Just fucking talk to the guy. Who gives a shit? Talk to him, tell him he fucked up and he's dead. Goodbye. You know, why do you have to put on the glasses? Like, I didn't know that was the guy that Rogue saw earlier or whatever. I didn't like that. I thought that was just kind of pointless and useless. But everything else was cool. I thought that the guy Bastion was gonna give Magneto a haircut. I was like, oh, we're gonna get rid of these locks. Don't need those. But yeah, it was cool. It's cool to know. I mean, he's alive, of course, because Xavier's alive. So it's like you got to have the two. Come on,
Right.
You know, you can't have one without the other.
You got to have them interact at some point in this show.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I wasn't shocked, like Magneto's alive. It was just like, oh, okay, well, there he is. Let's see how they explain it, or how he.
Well, rule of thumb: if you don't see a body, then there's, you know,
True.
pretty good chances that they're probably alive.
That is the
Continue.
trope.
And when it comes to Madeline
yes.
Pryor, I mean, they didn't find her body necessarily, so you could always bring her back whenever you want to, if they were inclined.
I did like
Cable's there,
how he was
time
like,
travel. So yeah, you're right.
I liked how Cable was like, "Get out of my head, you're not her."
Yeah, he recognized that it wasn't her.
Yeah.
He's like, "You're not my mom." Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Also,
You're not my dad.
Cable walking up to Scott and like being like, "We can save this for later, Dad." That's been a thing that had been in the original series. People wondered if they were going to follow through with that and like actually make Cyclops his father. And then this season very much confirms that. So that was very much like a oh fuck cool moment, like for the longtime fans.
It's cool to see Morph do Quicksilver again.
That was dope.
Quicksilver.
Yeah,
that was dope.
So
That was
I liked
dope.
it. But yeah, not much else I can think of about the episode that really, you know.
Okay, Sean, go.
Worthy. I'm going to go ahead and defer my time to Sean. Sean, you go right ahead.
Well, I mean, wow, it's hard to follow up with these two. So, I mean, I'm with Phil. I'm a big Gambit fan. I've always been a big Gambit fan. I mean, seeing the funeral at the very beginning confirms what he is dead. We're not getting him coming back, whether it's this season, the final 3 episodes, or season 2. He's gone. I thought it was interesting that we saw Ross and a brief mention of Hulk. So it makes me wonder, could we see Hulk or any other Avenger after Captain America, with the brief little moment we had of him in any future episodes? Probably won't happen until season 2 if we were to see it. Had the same reaction as far as Emma Frost. Was glad to see that come into play, especially since we know that storyline from the comics. as far as finding out her diamond pattern. They were all like in shock of that. So that was good to see. The biggest surprise for me, not surprise, the one that I liked was like the rage of Rogue, so to speak.
Yeah.
How it was just an episode of pure rage mode for her, as far as because of what happened to Gambit. She had no qualms about taking her gloves off, using her powers to either torture somebody, to do whatever she was going to do to get her. Yeah, exactly. And then when she at the end of the episode, when she was like, "Yep, I'm just gonna drop you off the building." Yeah, and I have no qualms about this. I'm good with it. I'm at peace. I'm just gonna kill you. And which we all thought, well, what the fuck? She just killed him. And obviously then we were like, no, human sentinel. That was a nice little twist to see that. And then obviously then Cable showing up to save them. I mean, Andre and I talked about this during the watch party is Wolverine obviously taking even in this episode, taking a back seat as well. We're not spending a lot of time focusing on the Wolverine character. We're focusing on other characters that we typically don't focus on, like Rogue or Cyclops. So that's a nice change up from previous X-Men live action or animated. It's not just about Wolverine. There's other X-Men involved in this.
Do you think that that's probably also due to the fact that Wolverine's about to be in a fucking movie with Deadpool?
Well, yeah, you don't want to oversaturate Wolverine in the cartoon, and then all of a sudden,
I think that maybe not be the case as far as like, you know, the Hugh Jackman thing. I think it's just that they wanted to give you the best story.
Yeah, but I think what they're trying to do as well is, you know, if they are in, they're going to start developing a live action X-Men, you want to develop the other characters. And I think the way they went about developing the other members of the X-Men has been done extremely well. And they're pulling from comic book canon to tell the story, as opposed to just like, oh, we're going to tell this portion of this story, but then we're just going to fucking butcher it. But it's fine because you'll watch it anyway. Like you're doing it justice, and they're doing a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I was glad to see Nightcrawler show back up. I hope we get more of him in the 3-episode finale, because I've always been Nightcrawler fan as well. Magneto was a bit of a surprise to me. I was very much under the assumption, he's dead. Was surprised to see him come back, and then bring in Bastion at the end as another villain. Didn't see that coming.
I think one of the real questions is how did Magneto survive? That I think
wasn't he in like a cocoon thing?
He was in a cocoon thing, but I think the reason why he survived is because one of Bastion's abilities is teleportation. So he likely teleported in, grabbed him, teleported out, and you know, that fast when they all died. Because you saw, what's his name, the little green guy who's part of the Morlocks, Leech. Thank you. You saw that he was dead. Him and Callisto were dead, and you know, it was a. They basically show that he had died, so it wasn't him. And we were trying to figure out who that was. We're like, who's that villain? And we figured out that it was Bastion.
I had even mentioned we need to get Phil on the flip phone and confirm who this is, because we can.
We're like, oh, Phil, wake him up!
It's like we gotta get Phil. We gotta wake him up.
I wouldn't have known. Bastion's of all the X-Men villains, that one is a blind spot for me.
Well, it's crazy because the whole OZT is Operation Zero Tolerance, which, you know, I learned about afterwards. I was like, oh, okay, but like, I love what they did with it though, because the whole thing when it comes to Bastion is that he is essentially a combination of Master Mold and Nimrod. And so he's like a living cyborg, but he's connected to the Sentinels. And so this again is just another evolution in the Sentinel storyline. And so I love that they did that. Instead of just saying, okay, this is going to be Sinister. Sinister's your bad guy. They actually said, okay, so now let's introduce Bastion, because that becomes a pivotal part in the Sentinel storyline of where it kind of evolves into. And they actually did that. And so I think so far the storytelling in this series has been extremely good. I mean, even doing the whole Storm with Forge out there. I mean, that happened in the comics as well. Like, everything that they're doing, they're taking from the source material, which I think is so awesome that they're doing it. And not only that, but like, I love how they're just doing it. They're just like, yeah, we're going to take from source material, and we're just going to do that. Like, when you saw the Shi'ar Empire, it's like, oh, you don't know who that is? That sucks for you, but that's the Shi'ar Empire. That's them right there. There they are. It was just cool that they just throw them in there. Like,
right.
if you know X-Men, you'll know who this is. It's just like, holy shit. They're not pulling any punches, and they're not trying to play it safe. They're going right into the lore of the X-Men, which is pretty badass. And you know, I know when you have a live action film, you can't do it as easy because with a comic, I mean, with the animation, you can kind of jump right into storylines and just kind of run with it. So I'm glad they're doing it the way they're doing it.
He was
it
also
was really
created. The character of Bastion was created. I'm looking at it right now. He was created in May 1996, created by Scott Lobdell and Pascal Ferry, and that would be right around the time the show was coming to an end. So it makes sense as to why he was introduced here in 97. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Apparently, he's also voiced by Theo James.
Who's Theo James? His voice sounded very familiar when he was talking.
Yes. So Theo James, he's a younger up and coming actor, and he was in, let's see, The White Lotus, the Gentleman TV show. He's got the main role in that. He's also, what is he? So in film, he plays Vesemir in The Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf, Mr. Malcolm's List.
What was his name?
Theo James. He was in the Divergent movies. He was in the Divergent movies with Shailene Woodley.
I think I know.
Oh, rip.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
where
yes,
he kind of got
yes.
his start.
Now I know. I'm looking at him right now. I know exactly who he is. Yeah, but
Yeah, he's
no,
also played a couple voice roles in, like, you know, Castlevania and Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. He's been around.
I mean, the whole idea that, you know, the way they're going about this show, like I said, I just fucking love it. I think it's great. They're diving right into the lore of the X-Men. To even have a villain like Bastion show up, it's like they most people would say, oh, so it's just going to be Sinister, right? Yeah, I get it. No, they're just doing that instead. Something you did not expect them to go on.
A lot of people were under the impression that it might have been Apocalypse controlling Sinister, or even maybe Cassandra Nova, because she's the one who famously like annihilated Genosha in the new X-Men run by Grant Morrison. So the fact that it's Bastion is actually interesting. It's not necessarily subversion, but it definitely is like a, oh, cool, someone you didn't expect.
Andre thought it was gonna be that lady from the TVA, or who was that you thought it was?
No, I said Cassandra Nova, because in E for Extinction, she's the mastermind behind the attack on Genosha. And so when they find Emma Frost and she's in her diamond form, that's when she learns about that ability. She then becomes a member of the X-Men to help fight against, you know, those who plotted against and the attack. And that ends up becoming because when Emma Frost is in her diamond form, she can't use her telepathic ability, but she also can't be affected by it.
Yep.
And so because of that, when she finally confronts Cassandra Nova, she goes into her diamond form, and Cassandra Nova is completely powerless to stop her. She just goes over there and just kills her. And she's the one who ends up killing Cassandra Nova in that series.
It's
and
also the same series they kind of homage a little bit with the whole Madeline Pryor and Jean and Scott, in that Scott is having kind of like a mental affair with Madeline Pryor, because in the comic that Andre's talking about, it's actually Emma Frost in which he's having the mental affair with.
But the way they did it made more sense, and it connected to that. So I was like, oh, that was well done.
Yes.
And so, as good as X-Men 97 has been, I'm like, okay, so you've already fired Bo DeMaio. So how is the next season going to go?
Technically, he worked on season 2, so it would be season 3 going forward would be the real question raising. Personally,
I don't even know why he got fired. I don't remember hearing why.
There's not been an official reason as to why.
He must have been doing something weird.
Brad Winderbaum has said that they parted amicably, whereas the Hollywood Reporter trade said that he was outright fired. So I don't know. I'm a little more inclined to believe what Brad Winderbaum had to say. You know, trades always like to inflate the truth to fit their narrative as they do. What's up, Dwayne? How you doing, man?
What up, bro?
Dwayne?
All right, Dawson, finish us off. What was your take on X-Men 97? This has been a long time.
Yeah, please.
I mean, I have to second what Ryan said earlier, that this is the best thing that Disney has put out Marvel-wise on Disney Plus, or even in general, honestly, on Disney Plus. I think that they're really knocking out of the park with this show. I think that it's coming at a perfect time for them when interest in Marvel stuff was at an all-time low as far as the MCU is concerned. It's coming along to where it's a nice breath of fresh air. People can kind of relax and just enjoy, like Andre said, you're kind of just jumping into an X-Men universe that doesn't have really any connections besides maybe seeing a glimpse of the Watcher, in the background every now and then. But you just kind of get to this new universe, these same characters or some same characters, but it's just a way you get to just watch, enjoy. It's a good story. It's well thought out. It's being told with an intent rather than just simply being, told for content's sake. I think it's just really fun seeing these characters really kind of explore the arcs that they had and some that didn't quite get finished with the original show. But again, I just think it's been a really fantastic thing for Marvel. I'm sure they're breathing a sigh of relief right now. They're thinking, okay, we have some time to, put this out there, kind of rethink what we're doing. Meanwhile, people are still enjoying stuff from us. So I just think they're nailing it. And I'm really excited to see how they finish it off with this 3-part finale. And I mean, I imagine at some point they're going to try to more directly connect it to the MCU. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the version of Wolverine we see in the show, like in some weird way, ends up being the Wolverine we see in Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine, just to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. But again, we'll have to see if they actually attempt that. But no, I have really no negative things to say about X-Men 97. I mean, the only thing that I could say, and I don't even think it's really even negative, is that some of the animation does kind of delve into the 3D part of things rather than just the 2D style that we want to see. Some moments feel more like Marvel What If than the X-Men show, but that's just kind of inevitable with modern technology. It's going to happen. It's going to look more like a modern show. But other than that, I mean, again, incredible job of bringing this to life. And I'm just excited that these characters are kind of back in the conversation rather than just simply them being like, oh, when are the X-Men going to come in? Now it's like, oh, the X-Men are doing stuff. There's a story happening. And we're seeing these characters that we love actually like doing incredible things. So
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, big same.
McDonald's. I know. Now I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, but that's I guess that's a sort of a transition into the last topic we wanted to talk about tonight, which
Before
is
that, I'm also to tie into this a little bit. I do wonder, since Morph has changed into Magic, Quicksilver, Archangel, do you guys think by the end of the season he'll morph into Deadpool? Just for sheer fucking ha moment,
Maybe
leading into the movie. That'd be funny, right?
Yeah,
That'd be
funny.
I'd love that. I would love that. I've been thinking about that. Like, who else can morph into and take over? Because that shit would be hilarious.
Is it morphin' time?
Yeah, he says, I hope they don't connect the X-Men 97 to MCU. I thought they were at one point, but after watching this, I don't think they will at all. This is its own separate thing.
At best, when Marvel Studios gets around to adapting the X-Men post Secret Wars, because I feel like they're not going to get to it before Secret Wars. There's just no way.
Yeah,
it'd be nice, but they're not in the same ballpark that the Fantastic Four has been in, and I think that's why the Fantastic Four is getting a movie first. So, I think when it comes to the X-Men, I think their best bet would be to take inspiration from X-Men and X-Men 97, but I don't think it's going to directly tie. Like you're not going to see a jump from we're going to take these characters and then thrust them into a live action form. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think when they get around to doing the X-Men, I think from a visual standpoint, they will likely look like they do in this show, but whatever story they come up with, it's going to be vastly different than the one they're telling. The only similarity I could honestly see them doing as far as the X-Men are concerned would be Mr. Sinister, and that's because he's the biggest villain that they haven't done in live action yet. But that's just me personally.
I would love for them to see. I would love for them to do Apocalypse.
That'd be dope. That'd be great.
I did not like the Apocalypse we got in the Bryan Singer movie.
You didn't like it with Moon Knight?
I would actually like to see them all like established. I would love to see the fact that this is like an X-Men that has lived through the Sentinels, Apocalypse, Boulevard Trask, Sinister, any or Magneto. Like I would really love to see like them just established. Take just take the ball and run with it. That's what I think
kind
they
of feel
should
like
do.
that's what they're doing with this series is that they're tackling a lot of the storylines that they're probably not going to touch on in live action. So you've already kind of seen these storylines, and they're going to be moving on to some of the probably the newer stuff that
Probably some
Well, yeah, they're
continuity
even
stuff,
touching on
yeah.
like Dark Phoenix and all that. They're like, yeah, we're not doing that.
What?
He's all.
They're even talking about the Dark Phoenix.
Well, they've been talking about Dark Phoenix.
Well, yeah, that was a big part of their history. So
Yeah, so it's like I don't think they're going to do that.
Arguably their biggest story in the X-Men canon.
Yeah.
Oops.
Okay, but yeah, with that, now let's transition into we have a
do
new
have super
trailer.
chat. We do have a super chat. Just
we
just
we
have
do have a
chat.
super
Make
chat.
sure that I get to
Ooh.
that 1 second. $20 super chat from Dwayne.
Hey!
Much appreciated, my
Woo!
man. We got a question here saying, question of the panel. Actually, real quick, let me get you an explosion first and foremost. Much appreciated, my man. And here is your boom. Awesome. Much appreciated, man. He says, question of the panel, has anyone seen Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2 yet? If so, what are your thoughts? Because I haven't seen it. I'm going to watch after the stream. Phil, I believe, didn't you see this?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, and before you get to that, let's cut to our next segment, Phil at the movies. Phil, take it away.
Take it away, Phil.
Do I have to? Do I really have to?
I mean, as the only one on the panel, I believe, who has
I have
seen
not
it.
seen
I
it.
mean,
I don't think
Dwayne's
anybody's seen it.
literally paying us
I know.
$20
I understand that. I'm just
to hear
Paying
this.
for your review.
I don't want to disappoint him because, well,
Just give it to him straight up.
look. Okay.
Don't
The
point punches.
first film had like a ton of pacing issues. Okay. It doesn't get better. It does not get any better. If you go into these movies expecting a page for page adaptation of Crisis on Infinite Earths, you are going to be vastly disappointed. Yeah, they pull some stuff from that book, but hot fuck is it a mess. And part 2 does not. Oh my god, part 2 opens up with like one of the most what the fuck moments in the Tomorrowverse thus far. It's just a big fat what the fuck. And the story that they choose for part 2 going forward after this what the fuck intro with a certain character and his extended family, I'll just I'll leave it at that. It's just it was not an easy watch.
You're talking Batman.
Shut the fuck up.
You're
It was
talking
not
Batman.
it was not an easy watch. Okay. I had a very difficult time watching this movie because they bounce back and forth between two very different stories that are apparently they intertwine, but by the time they intertwine, you're just left scratching your head like, what the fuck is even going on? And then by the end of it, you're just again asking the same what the fuck question over and over and over again. I don't know that I had a good time with it, but I definitely did not have a good time with it. I'm not going to say it was bad. I'm just going to say that I need to see part 3 now, because like this part 2 just it left a lot to be desired. And as a fan of Batman specifically, and seeing a lot of his extended family in this by way of the multiverse, even that was, like, in my opinion, handled in such a mismanaged, haphazard way where they kind of make Batman a dickhead in this movie. And I'm like, I should be enjoying this because I'm kind of a fan of asshole Batman, but he's being such a prick to his extended family where I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? And I don't know. If you're going to make me give it a rating, I'm going to give like a 5 out of 10. Okay. Because there's also some stuff with Supergirl in it and the Monitor, and like there's a bunch of stuff in Psycho Pirate. Psycho Pirate is like the biggest what the fuck of it all. Truly. Like Psycho Pirate in this movie is just a fucking far cry departure from what happened in the initial comic book. Because fuck me, his story was just a what? Why? Why are we going through all these hoops just to justify that Psycho Pirate is this fucking morally not so gray character to be pulled into this conflict, and then he does something where you're just like, are you fucking serious? It just 5 out of 10. Christ on Defenders Part 2. 5 out of 10.
On some of
you,
these,
Phil.
on some of these reviews that Phil does, I almost feel like we need final thoughts, like Jerry Springer music, like at the end. Like here's
Hey, just
final
a heads up,
thoughts.
everybody. Next week is Alien, because I'll be seeing that in the movie theater, and then the week after that is
Cool.
The Phantom Menace. So,
I want to see that.
Dawson,
Actually-
you're muted.
Dawson, you're on mute.
Yeah, I actually
My
worked at
fault.
a theater during when the Phantom Menace came out, so I saw it in theaters like a bajillion times because I was
Nice.
like literally at work.
I was too
Go in
young
there
to
and
see it in
watch.
theaters. I was like
It's,
two.
it's
at the
literally
time,
the only
so.
prequel film I have not seen in theaters.
Oh wow!
I think
I got the media screening pass for it. So that was
The initial trailer for
Ryan was
the
ushering
Phantom
a field
Menace.
trip there.
cool. Fuck yeah, that was back when we still fucking like I didn't have to at the time, but I mean that's when like the lines were still there and people were pitching tents and
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And I had my little because I was a subscriber to like an old magazine called Star Wars Insider, and they sent out fucking media
Force.net.
screening passes to people that had who were subscribers to that shit. And I was like, I got to go. I was like, that's fucking cool. So I was kind of a dick. I was like, look at this. I got tickets. See you later. And I fucking took it. I was like, Darth Maul fucking gets chopped in half, bitch. And they
what movie was it? It was attached to. It was like the Fantastic.
Mr.
Black.
Meet Joe
or-
Black.
Meet Joe Black. That's what it was. And I remember when at the theater they were like, "Hey, on next week, or whatever, Meet Joe Black. It's gonna have the trailer for Phantom Menace." We're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
And so I remember watching that the first time, where it fucking blew my mind. I was like, "Whoa!" And that was the first time
We were
and-
like, wow, there's two there's two Sith Lords. One's the guy cloaked, and the other one's with the horns and shit. And we all these and we're like, oh, that's not exactly what this was.
there's a lot of cool things in Phantom Menace. Like Sebulba is badass.
Oh yeah, he's the best. The
Even like
best
pod
villain.
racing. I think pod racing was kind of cool.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
oh, it's
Power Race
very
is
cool.
great.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, in terms of overall character design, I thought that Sebulba was one of the
Yeah.
coolest designs I've ever seen in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really.
And the lightsaber fight was bar none the best.
It is without
until-
question the best choreographed and shot lightsaber duel on film, period,
Yeah.
bar none, end of conversation. I don't care what anybody says. And I'm not even saying that to be dismissive. It's just like, look, facts are facts. I like Revenge of the Sith a whole fuck ton. I think it's the best prequel movie. But that Phantom Menace has the best lightsaber
Sure.
duel.
I mean,
in
that
the
moment when
saga.
Obi-Wan finally is able to get past that like laser wall and he
Yes.
engages Darth Maul and it goes like behind the back block.
Dude,
like that whole part is awesome.
when
no
Qui-Gon-
music, no
when
music,
Qui-Gon
just
is
sound
even-
effects.
when Qui-Gon is even like kneeling down with his eyes closed and Maul is like stalking him like a fucking tiger. Oh my god, dude. Like even just thinking about it, I'm just like, I can't fucking wait to watch that movie in the theater. Holy shit. Because
Yeah.
I just know it in my soul. Like when they're gonna go to Naboo and they fucking run into Darth Maul and that John Williams theme hits, I'm very well may need to change my pants because that is that scene to me is one of my favorite scenes of all time because that was even as a child watching that movie, I was like, oh, they're about to fight. And they gonna fight, and it's gonna be a good fight. And that is such a good fucking fight in the entire saga.
Yeah.
It's funny because like when I saw the first time I watched Phantom Menace, I remember that the fight on Tatooine when Darth Maul shows up to take on and he ends up fighting Qui-Gon.
Yep.
I remember as soon as he says, tell them to take off, and he starts fighting him. I remember like my jaw dropped because of how fast they were moving. I was like, oh my god, like this is not because I was so used to seeing Return of the Jedi where they're like do. Yeah, and they were just going at it. I was like, oh my god, this is so different. I was like, these guys are way better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like these are actually skilled fighters. Oh my god.
Well, that's why he got the role from Benicio del Toro because just his fighting style. They were watching the dailies of like them teaching, Liam Neeson and you and how to fight, how to sword play and all that. What's his name was. They actually extended the double bladed lightsaber. Like George wanted it to be just the same size as everybody else's. He just has double bladed. But Ray Park was like, nah, I can't fucking do that. We got to have it longer.
Yeah, longer. Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, no, fucking Nick Gillard. Fucking that was number one, dude. He's the stunt choreographer, and he did a great job.
Yeah.
I mean, even the opening scene when they're on the Trade Federation ship, and when Qui-Gon puts his lightsaber into the door, and he's like melting the door, and then you hear plays the Jedi theme, and they're like they're still coming through, it's just like fuck yeah, and then the robots show up.
Droidicas,
yeah.
I was like, what?
Awesome, destroyers.
Yeah, destroyers. You mean the big ships?
Yeah. They also did some things in this one that I didn't think they were going to do. Like when they were being shot at, they used your Jedi ability to run fast.
And we never saw that ability again.
Yeah, I remember when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, they're using that.
We saw them force jump massive distances when they're fighting Maul too.
Yeah.
So,
they're like...
It would have been funny if they used it at the beginning of the fight with Darth Maul, and they cut him at that point in time. They were just like, "Hey, super speed." He doesn't know that.
He doesn't know that.
He's not a Jedi. He doesn't know our tricks.
Oh my gosh! But with that though, Phil mentioned that if he sees the Darth Maul scene in the theater, he might have to change his pants. I'm pretty sure he had to change his pants after the trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine this week.
Oh yeah,
I snuck off to the bathroom an hour into my shift just to watch this fucking trailer.
Wow.
Yeah, and because it's Disney, they'll probably get mad at us for playing it, but we've all seen it. So I kind of want to get everybody's reactions here. So I guess since we did with Phil last time, I'll start with me this time, kind of work our way back around.
I'll be right back. Oh, you know what? I'm being summoned. I'll be right back. Sorry, guys.
Okay, sounds good. No worries. But for me, with each thing that I see about this movie, I get more and more excited. I love the sort of explanation we kind of get in the trailer for why we're seeing Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, because basically, from what I understand, it's not really the Wolverine we're used to seeing. It's probably one from a different universe. It's still played by Hugh Jackman. Yeah. And, he experienced a world-ending event that he was not able to prevent or help prevent. And so there's going to be a big sense of trauma and guilt with that. So, and Hugh Jackman always does a great job portraying roles with that type of mentality. It feels like he's just really able to bring out that raw emotion. So I think that's going to be very, very convincing. And I like the fact that they're just kind of going balls to the wall with this, because you see a lot of different characters like Lady Deathstrike and Hazazel briefly in the trailer. You see the giant skeleton of Ant-Man, which is a thing in the comics too.
That was cool.
Really, really dope to see. And it's funny that comes off the cusp of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which not a lot of people really enjoyed. But overall, I love the fact that we saw Hugh Jackman's Wolverine without the sleeves. I thought that was sick. I'm curious to see how that happens if he just decides not to wear them. Or if
I wish he kept the shoulder, the blue shoulder thing on.
I can agree with that.
They didn't do that. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think I'd like to see that. But the fact that we got no sleeves in the first place is pretty freaking awesome. Someone had pointed out on YouTube that
had more of that mask.
Yeah, I want to see the mask. I wonder if some of those shots.
He's gonna wear it for a little bit and then take it off.
Here's my concern with that. I'm worried that the mask is going to be CGI, and a lot of the shots that we see in the trailer are going to have him with the mask in the movie, like the close of him saying "Let's effing go." I wonder if that's going to have the mask on him, and that concerns me just a tad.
We're going to have mask.
CG.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they might. And when I was watching it, I was like, man, I wonder if a lot of these
sorry,
shots...
did you fucks mention a mask?
I should
listen up, Dinkleberries. I'll tell you something right now. That mask is not going to be CGI, so you can shove it up your arse with that CGI bullshit. Number one. Number two, do not badmouth my boy Hugh like that, because let me tell you, seeing those guns up front, I had to change my pants a few times, boys. Holy shit. This trailer was fucking immaculate. Let me tell you something. Having Dogpool there, Liefeld's feet in the back getting blown to shit, Cassie Nova. Let me tell you, you guys are in for a real show and tell.
I did love they gave a little tribute to Rob
That was
Liefeld
funny.
and his inability to draw feet.
Funnier than you. Sorry, what?
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Not
Okay.
a funny guy, but whatever. But no, I just think that like with each thing that I see about this movie, I get more and more excited because it just seems like, okay, they're doing something that's going to be really, really fun. And I mean, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I'm not going to ever say no to that. There's not a single role that he's had or a single moment that he's been Wolverine that I've not enjoyed of his. So
Do you have any idea how much ball fondling I had to do to get that man to sign on for that movie?
probably a ton.
More than you know. More than you know, okay? More than you know. I'll let you know I had to fight his wife tooth and nail to fondle his balls for a month straight just to get him to sign back on to come back as Wolverine in this movie. Oh my God, even Kevin Feige couldn't haggle him. It was all me,
Yeah.
baby. All me.
I'll believe it. I believe it. With that, Andre, if you're still there.
I'm here. Hold on. I was. Yeah, no.
Why are you hiding?
I'm not hiding. I thought the trailer was badass. I love seeing that. They confirmed that this is a Wolverine from another universe who has failed his universe. So I thought that was really cool.
Which explains why he has the suit.
Yeah, and then we got to see the cameos from Azazel and Lady was it Deathstrike.
There's some even cameos in there none of y'all know about. Hink, hink, nudge, nudge.
There's going to be a bunch, and which is going to be really cool to see. And, I'm interested to see where the story goes. I mean, yes, Cassandra Nova is the villain, but, how does that play into the rest of the Marvel Universe, or where does the film take us? I think that's really cool.
If you give me some cocaine, I'll tell you.
But overall, though, dude, I'm hyped for this movie. I told Ryan, dude, if you have Deadpool, Wolverine in this movie, in the way it's played out, how there's violence, there's cussing, all that, this is going to do $1 billion. There's no way that this film cannot do. I mean, if it doesn't, I'd be shocked. Put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean,
every time I hear my name mentioned, I just can't help but touch myself.
I was to say, I'm glad your hands are up here and not off camera. I'm very glad that's the case. Sean, what were your thoughts?
Whoa! This is a PG-13 show.
No, not anymore. Fuck, Knuckle. This is an R-rated show now.
Easy there, Cupcake.
Hey. I'll show you some cupcakes if you want some. Let me.
Actually, I thought that was cool though when he was like, "Listen, lady, I'm not interested."
That came after the writer's strike, obviously. Yeah, that was a fun one to do.
I'll say I'm glad that I'm glad that the trailer wasn't censored. I think that added a little bit more of appeal to it, to what you're going to see in the final film. As Andre mentioned, if we're going to see one more it's still an R-rated driven Deadpool Wolverine team up. The Ant-Man thing, I overlooked that the first time I watched it. It wasn't until the second or third time I watched it, it caught my eye as far as, oh my gosh, Ant-Man suit and then his skull inside. Then when they're jumping out of his skull into that what looks to be like a Doctor Strange portal to go somewhere else. And it almost looks like they're trying to escape that storm that's right behind that portal, that big purple storm that's coming their way. So whatever that could be. And I'm glad they still haven't given up. Will we see another alternate Wolverine? They still haven't shown anything leading us to believe that would be the case, that this might just be the only Wolverine that we're going to see.
I could say something, but then Kevin Feige snipers will snipe me in the head. Not like it would do much damage, but he'd just continue to snipe my head off until I wouldn't say a goddamn word. Or they could just sew my mouth shut like they did in that one other movie.
They could. I thought the last part where they even mentioned Feige at the end about doing cocaine. No, Feige said we can't do that. And,
well, for the record, just letting you know, there was a ton of cocaine on that set.
A
literal brick fuck ton of cocaine.
I have no doubt. I have no doubts that there was tons.
Just like in the second movie, which this is a follow-up to, because yes, it is continuity.
Okay, and I will be surprised if this doesn't do $1 billion. I think.
Oh, we're hoping. We hope so.
At least make $1 billion.
If it doesn't do $1 billion, those bean counters will get really mad. They'll be really mad and ask why we didn't insert a Martha joke in there like the second film. But hey, Disney's Disney. They're going to make money one way or the other, and they're really banking on this movie to make a ton of money. And I am, well, if it doesn't, then we'll see if I show up in Secret Wars or not. We'll see what happens.
I think the fact that Disney isn't censoring it will get it close to the billion. Had they censored, like if we had not seen the whole pegging joke from the first trailer, we would have known Disney was censoring it. It would not have been the Deadpool movie we were expecting to see.
I had to convince
And also, it has
Bob
X-Men
Iger of that.
97 in its favor too. Like the fact that it's
Yep.
being so popular and it's going to bring people more into it. I think that's
So I'm gonna give it to Ryan now.
I liked it.
Wow, you sound
That was a top notch.
Man,
Rotten
you know,
well
Tomatoes
said. Oh my
right
goodness,
there.
you
I
sound
liked
so
it.
excited. Holy shit.
to be honest, I still need to watch the second one. So once I've seen that one, I'll probably be because I like Cable and I love Josh Brolin. I think he's great. I just haven't seen it yet, and yeah, I'll probably watch it regardless.
yeah.
Because I mean, it looks fun. It looks like they set out to have a good time. So
And it's Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
You guys
Yeah, I
like
mean
the part
he's
where
he's
stabbing
our
in the balls?
definitive
That was pretty
Wolverine.
funny.
There's no other actor so far other than the one in X-Men 97 that's portrayed the character. So he's what we know. So I mean, yeah, it's cool. I think it's funny, and I like the I like their interaction so far in the trailer. So it looks like it's going to be a good time. I'm curious as to what Wolverine this is and what world he's come from and all that kind of stuff. And because I mean they'll expound on that a little bit as far as like Deadpool razzing him or whatever. But
Ribbing genius. I ribbed him.
you ribbed him.
I
Gotcha.
shot him in the ribs. Didn't you pay attention to the fucking trailer? Evidently not.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yes,
Oh,
that's
okay.
exactly what
Gotcha.
happened. Watch the fucking trailer one more time, genius.
I will roll the trailer.
Roll it now. We'll do it live.
Now! I
We'll
said
do it
now! Come on. Papa Mouse won't do anything to us. We'll be okay. I'm here after all.
And
I agree.
speaking-
Let's go, man. I'm all for it. Let's watch the trailer.
If you put it on mute, you should be fine.
Yeah.
Well, typically you can watch Marvel stuff.
Well, I mean,
but
you
don't know
can
if
pull
this
it up,
counts
and
or
we can kind of give our commentary of the shots.
Oh,
Right
fine. I'll do it.
there. See, there you
You
go.
fucking better.
I don't like her. You're threatening me here.
Ugh.
I'm not a fan of that.
Do you
Let's
want to
see,
get pegged? I'll show you what pegging's like. Disney already learned.
Ah,
the hard way.
that
Uh-oh,
sounds like it'd
uh-oh.
be painful.
He didn't say no. He didn't say no.
He did not say no. You're
He didn't
absolutely
say
right. He
no.
did not say no. He's pretty open to it by the sound of it. You want a
No.
brick of cocaine in your face too? I can make that happen.
Let's see. I'm gonna get the trailer to get.
Oh
go.
shit!
Okay.
Technology.
The technology, we have it. Okay, here we go.
Dogpool just took a
So
massive
we're-
dump. I'm gonna have to go, everybody. It was nice chatting with you fucks again. We'll have to do this sometime soon before the movie comes out. Catch you
See you
later.
later.
Always good to have you here. Let's see. So we got it muted here, so we'll commentate on this.
This
a little
reminded
bit.
me of X-Men Origins. Or no, was it no?
It was kind of like the game too. He was in a bar like
when
this.
when
Yeah.
Magneto and
Oh, that was First
and
Class.
Xavier, first class. Sorry, first class.
So what's funny
Yeah,
about
making-
this? What's funny about this sequence right here in the trailer?
He
is
doesn't
that-
have a mustache.
Yeah, he
True.
does.
Well, I guess that. But I saw someone break down a clip where
What did I miss?
Gosh.
What happened?
Mustache.
you missed
Mustache.
Phillip. He chimed in and
That
said some-
fucker always likes to come in when I'm dealing with shit and fuck off. I hope he wasn't too much of an asshole.
and he told us he was going to do some things to us that we did not find very.
What
Except
did
for
he
Dawson
Dawson
say?
got it very amused. He was like, "This is great."
What happened?
But what I was saying is that with this sequence right here, someone had pointed out that in She-Hulk, I mean, we don't really say that name, but in She-Hulk, there was a screenshot with a news article to the side that said "Man with claws fights in a bar," and so we see here that he extends his claws in a bar. So I suggest
Well,
that this
actually,
is
he's
happening
got
amongst
whiskey
the time.
dick of the claws in the bar, but go on.
Yeah, but basically suggesting that this
Say
is
whiskey
happening
dick.
in the actual MCU.
Right there. Whiskey dick of
Yep.
the claws. Quite common in Wolverines over 40. You don't want this. Unless you want to take a deep breath through your fucking forehead, I suggest you reconsider. I love that line. Oh, that line is too good.
Gosh, that suit is fantastic.
It
It
really
is
is.
so damn good.
They did a really good job with that. The wig for Wade always just is weird to me.
It's
but-
so. I think that's the. I think it's intentional. I think it's
What about the
supposed
wig
to look
for
goofy and
Wolverine?
weird.
yeah,
I think
and then
that's
the
his
one,
hair. I think that's his actual hair.
Oh, okay.
I'm
So that
really
fight,
curious-
that fight that just happened, that's actually very much Sam Raimi that's them doing
Yeah, I
the
saw
Spider-Man
that.
fight between Flash.
I
Thompson.
saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
same choreography between him and Flash.
Go fuck yourself. That's a First Class reference.
Mm-hmm. And you got Liefeld coming up.
The fact they did this trailer to Madonna
Oh, I know.
has me fucking dead. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah, Liefeld's just feet and it's just destroyed.
that's funny.
You were the X-Man.
He can't draw feet.
Man, he got jacked again for this. Holy cow.
I am soaking wet right now. Hi, Ruthie. Cassandra
going, Ruthie?
Nova. Oh my god. So talk about a big head coming out of a big head. How about that, right?
Dude, this movie looks badass.
Dude, this movie looks fucking savage. That's Eliath. I
Yep.
cannot wait for this fucking movie. Actually, can you go back real quick to when they showed the Ant-Man head?
Yeah, real quick. Let's go back.
Because there's some
to-
characters there that are prevalent of some. Okay, so
Yeah,
you've
Azazel
got
right
Azazel,
here.
Azazel from First Class, Lady Deathstrike from 2, the chick from 3, who I'm forgetting who it is. Back on the car is Pyro, and then
Yep.
Toad somewhere in here too, but I don't fucking remember where and when he. But
Is
yeah,
this him right here?
It's
that
not.
might.
be him
You know
right
what?
there.
That might actually be Toad. Yeah.
It's not. What's his face though, right?
No, it's Ray Park. It should be Ray
It
Park.
really is. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Because I
That's
think
kinda
they
cool.
got Tyler Maine to come back for Sabretooth.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah.
I hope they got.
Wow.
Did they get the other guy for Sabretooth 2 from Origins?
talking about
I loved-
Lee?
Fuck no. I hope
What? You
not.
talking about leave?
I fucking hope not.
I loved both those guys.
Shriver?
as Sabretooth.
I am not a fan of the Leaf Schreiber Sabretooth, so I
I love that version. I mean, I love.
I thought it was not canon as far as like, you know, he's fucking brother and shit, but I thought it was funny how they went through all the wars and shit. I like the montage.
Yeah, that was
Right.
okay. Well, X-Men Origins Wolverine is good for about like the first 45 minutes to an hour. Then it goes to shit once the barn house blows up.
Yeah, I still enjoy it.
There's some things that I liked.
definite Mad Max
Definitely.
reference here.
Oh, 100%. This movie
right
is
here.
absolutely inspired by Mad Max to some degree. Yeah.
My goodness.
And I love that Cassandra Nova just fucking gives it to Wolverine like through and through. Oh, so if you go back to that fight sequence,
Right.
Well, it just that reminds me of his interaction with like with Magneto.
okay, so this fight sequence here, if you pay close enough attention, Deadpool and Wolverine are fighting, but in one frame, they are fighting alongside a woman, and that woman is believed to be Elektra Nachios,
Oh,
aka
yeah.
Jennifer Gardner. Yeah. So if you
Oh,
keep doing the slow skip, I think you can do
Yeah.
it with
I think it's.
I just
want
want to know where Gina Carano is.
Yeah,
I think you
Probably
can
not in this
use,
movie.
Not in the
greater than,
movie.
less than to move it frame by frame.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
see. Here we go.
yeah. Okay, so right,
We already
we'll
missed it.
see it. There she is, right there. Go back. That
Oh, yeah,
the
right there.
shoulder right there, right above Wade's head. People think that is either X-23 or Jennifer Gardner's Elektra.
Well, I know the rumors of X-23 being in there with Daphne Keene and also Channing Tatum as Gambit.
That's the rumor, yeah, that Channing Tatum
Yeah.
might show up as Gambit. Yeah.
So that could
The
be
hell?
really interesting.
When did Sean leave?
He just got here. Hey, what's up, Sean?
got
Hey,
here.
for
What's
joining
up?
us
Yeah.
What's
today.
going on, guys?
He's like, hey, are we talking X-Men 97?
I want to talk
go.
X-Men
We gotta talk about
97,
this whole
guys.
time travel
go.
thing that Andre's been pushing.
And you got this whole sequence. Oh, nope, that's. Let's see.
Oh shit!
But that was the one thing I was worried about. That was that. I mean, look, they obviously
You're
didn't show
worried?
you. They didn't show you the mask for a reason. They're trying to
They
hold
want to
off
hold
on
that
that.
off until the movie, I bet.
But like, I feel like you're seeing a lot of the movie with him not even wearing it. But it looks like a lot of this takes place.
Yeah.
That's the eye hole of Ant-Man.
yeah.
So I think a lot of it takes, or a lot of what they're showing you takes place in this in the
So,
void, which is where they're
Question
at right
is this one of the final shots of the movie?
That's an interesting question.
Because we
I
have
thought
seen
was
that
one of the
done
shots
before.
That, like starts their adventure. You know,
No.
together.
Not even close, Chief.
'Cause it seems like they're running away from something just like by looking at their faces.
now. Who's behind them? Who's that? That's Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, that's very much Cassandra Nova, or
They're
maybe
getting up
even,
there.
maybe even Charles. I don't know. The real question,
not
another question is who's forming that that sling ring circle.
It
Is
would have to be
right?
Doctor Strange or
Or
Wong.
right?
Yeah.
I'd imagine it's probably Wong.
That's what I guess too. I think it's probably Wong.
Oh, you
Starts
guys
with
would both
green.
be Wong.
But it also could be too that like this is how Cassandra Nova escapes the void. Like when they jump
Very
through,
possible,
he's
yeah.
unable to close it, and they're like, "Close the portal, Wong. What are you doing?" And then she's controlling him, and she comes through, and you're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, they both look at Wong like,
Bitch.
Damn.
Right?
Brutal.
yeah, that's the trailer finishes off with this conversation here, making fun of Disney and trying out all different slang for cocaine and all that fun stuff.
So Leslie Uggams is just having the year of her life between this and Fallout. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I still need to watch Fallout.
Dude,
I
About
watched
it.
it.
Fallout is so good.
I've
Such a
had people
good
telling me
show.
it's the perfect show, which is like
Okay,
It's an interesting premise.
there's no such thing as a perfect show, number one. Number
right,
two,
right,
it's a really awesome, well-made show because it's
yeah,
handled by Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, and it's also
Right.
made by Bethesda Studios, who makes the Fallout video games. And also, unlike the Halo TV show, this is a story that is set within the Fallout world, so all of the other games happen to be canon. But this is
Nice.
also, in a certain specific kind of way, a bit of a prequel to how the bombs went off, even though that's a prevalent story beat in the majority of the games as it is anyway. But yeah, the TV series is fucking awesome. Do you think we might see Wanda? That would be cool. It would be really fucking cool to see like Wanda, Pietro, and Magneto. But will it happen? I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
even like loosely hoping for a Charles Xavier, like Patrick Stewart cameo, because obviously if you're doing Cassandra Nova, in some way, I would hope that Professor X shows up in some capacity.
maybe in like a flashback when we see more of what happened to this version of Wolverine's
It
world.
kind of
maybe
depends
see some of
too,
those guys.
because like if they go with the comic book route of Cassandra Nova's origin, you are then kind of obligated to show Professor Xavier in some extent. But if they just make
Mhm.
her a variant of Professor Xavier, then you don't really have to worry about it that much.
Mm.
But I don't know. I
Yeah.
have no idea what kind of route they're going down for this version of the character. I just am very familiar with the character because of Grant Morrison's new X-Men run, which is a solid X-Men story in its own right. And whether or not they take some inspiration from that here, I don't think they will. There is some Old Man Logan stuff with that Ant-Man bit going on, or the Giant Man helmet, I should say. And even just some of the stuff you see happening throughout the movie is Old Man Logan-ish, but not entirely. It kind of feels like if you were to set this Wolverine in a timeline, and he is a variant of either the one from the traditional X-Men timeline or the one prior to the new First Class timeline or whatever. It really feels like this could be, if you looked at the events sequentially, if Logan happens after Days of Future Past, then I would imagine that this Logan in another timeline is pulled in between X-Men Days of Future Past and Logan. Like it happens after Days of Future Past, but before Logan. It's like right at the time when either Professor X killed all the fucking mutants or it's something else entirely. That's my guess. But
Yeah.
that remains to be seen. We're still April, May, June, July, 3 months out from the movie.
Yeah, really interesting to see how they explain it and if it makes sense or if it doesn't. Like, again, that's probably gonna be like people are gonna be more focused on the fun aspect of it, but as far as like how it all works, that'll definitely be fascinating for sure.
Yeah, I think this is a sweet buddy cop movie, and honestly, Marvel kind of needs to dial. They needed to dial back their output, and I really hope that they kind of continue through with that. Like, I do hope that at least one or two of their movies of the 4 that are slated for next year get moved into 2026, because there's no fucking way that they're doing Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, Blade, and what's the other one? They've got one more as far as a film goes. Oh, Captain America. There's no fucking way that Captain America or
it's kind of a log jam of movies that are
I'd be
production
shocked
and being reshot and all kinds of shit.
So Thunderbolts is still filming. Like, they started filming that like last month, right? Captain America is going through some wicked reshoots, but they showed off some stuff at CinemaCon and people saw like what they saw, but that's if you believe that rat Jeff Snyder. So I would bank that Captain America at the very least is probably going to come out next year. Thunderbolts I could see that getting pushed, even though I think it's December, right? It's December of 2025.
I think I'm not sure.
It's it's July.
Something like that.
It's July of 2025.
Hmm.
No. I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong. Fantastic Four is July of 2025. July 25th, because it comes out the same month as Superman. When the fuck is Thunderbolts coming out? I thought maybe it is.
I thought it was coming out in like May of next year.
You might be right. Yeah, May 2nd. You're right.
Yeah,
May 2nd.
because that's supposed to what is it? That's gonna lead into Captain America: Brave New World.
No, Brave New World comes out before that.
Oh yeah. It's Captain America leads into
Thunderbolts.
Yeah,
And then Thunderbolts allegedly like caps off Phase 5. Will Fantastic Four actually make its July 2025 release date?
I don't know.
If it does, they have to start shooting this August and then hope to God that they don't need a massive amount of reshoots.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like they need a smooth ass production coming in on time under budget if they want this movie out by July of 2025. But to be fair, they moved around the Deadpool release date a couple different times. They finished filming earlier this year, and that movie's coming out in July. Anything's fucking possible.
True.
So
Just
I don't
really
know.
depends.
It really depends on how they manage their time and whatnot. I'd be shocked if Blade came out next November. I don't think it's going to. I think that one's going to be inevitably pushed back. I think that one's getting pushed back.
I mean, with the amount of retooling they've had to do with that movie, it's honestly kind of ridiculous. But
it is turned into the Flash of Marvel Studios.
Yep. Which is not a good thing at all.
In development hell. Literal development hell.
Yes, absolutely agreed. But with that, we have reached the 2-hour mark, a couple minutes past the 2-hour mark, where we like to cut things off. But once again, it's been a fantastic show with you guys. Always fun to come together and talk about a lot of the current and movie news and such, and different movies that have come out. And for those who are tuning in late, we talked about Rebel Moon Part 2, X-Men 97, and Deadpool and Wolverine trailer today. We hope that you guys check out everyone here on their social medias. I know that Sean is working on some things for himself, and we got, of course, Andre, Ryan, and Andre's also got a couple things going on with channels and such. Some fun stuff in the work as well. And Phil with his podcast, The Eternal Night, just came out with a huge episode talking about the DCEU, basically recapping all of that. And you guys got that re-recorded, right?
Yeah, funny story about that. So we recorded, actually it was for the Joker trailer that we had to re-record. We had to re-record an episode about the Joker trailer. But this current episode that I dropped, was it Monday, Sunday, Saturday, past week? Something like that. Monday, I think. No. We recorded that last week because we recorded it like the day before Rebel Moon came out. Anyway, regardless, the most recent episode of The Eternal Night is a DCU retrospective of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. So it's a 3.5-hour conversation of myself and Craig just pouring over that film, its characters, the story, Snyder's visual themes, just a whole giant conversation about that movie specifically. And we're kind of doing just a DCU retrospective across the board. So the next one up is Suicide Squad.
Nice. So that'll be fun. So be sure to go check out the Eternal Night podcast.
Check
also,
that out.
Be sure to check out DJWArt.com. Got a lot of new stuff coming out, different print designs. And I'll show you guys this piece that I worked on to finish today. Fun.
Fucking Frank Castle.
Cool.
This is the fucking Punisher.
Got a Punisher Terminator mashup design here. I've finished coloring.
What that is? Fuck, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize it had a cybernetic face on it. That's dope as fuck.
It's just pure skull hanging out. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. So you got the Terminator face here, Terminator arm here. Also got another Terminator down here.
See, there's a crossover I'd love to watch happen. That right there.
Oh yeah, I've done. This is the second time I've done something for this concept because I've always really liked it. Whenever I don't even know if someone had told me about it or like I had thought of myself. I can't remember exactly, but I'm digitally coloring this. I'm pretty much done with the digital colors. I'll display it at some point, but this original version is up for grabs for those out there in the audience who are into collecting art. So just hit me up if you're interested in that. But yeah, be sure to go check out all these guys. We got a lot of fun stuff going on, and unless something crazy happens, I don't see anything happening, but we'll be back here same time next week on X, YouTube, a couple different pages on YouTube, Twitch. I might try to add like Instagram just for the first hour. Just depends on how I feel.
Yeah.
But
I hope you feel good.
I'll feel terrible. No. Anyway, we appreciate you guys, and we hope to see you all again next week. Laters.
Peace.